Hey everybody. Hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hi. I feel really I feel like I feel like there's a reason for this reading. And what that reason is yet, I'm not really sure. I just felt called to get on. Hey, I just felt called to get on and say hi, leave some messages with us and for us. Hi to you. Hey. So yeah, I want to sit reveal some secrets. That's really what we're here to do. Reveal some secrets. Hello to you too. Hey. Hiya, hiya, hey. So let's reveal some secrets. My list is open. My personal list is open if you're wondering about personal readings. For now, we're going to say in collective stuff. Reveal some secrets. What do we need? Secrets revealed. Secrets revealed. There was a surprise earlier today, an early surprise. Spirit's been talking to me, and the spirits around me have been talking to me about early surprises. Unexpected. Oh, this is unexpected. Oh, this is early. Okay, surprises. Secrets revealed. What do we need? Fate, grounding that we can't see. Do you know how many? Oh my goodness gracious. Ooh. Do you know how many times in the previous 7 days, basically since this new moon has come through, that spirit in a reading has come through and told me that fate, this is a season of fate. This entire eclipse season is a season of fate. Kind of sounds good for me. You know, I feel like it sounds good for me too. I love fate. That's what it is. I've been weaving fate, working with fate, weaving fate, making offerings to fate. There's been a lot of things that I've been doing. And recently, the way that spirit lets me know kind of like what is going to come up with the fates that I've been working, hey, is that I get to see the patterns of the work that I've already done. And then they're like, okay, well, pay attention to what patterns are around you that would be kind of applicable to that work. Or what pattern are you in right now that's already, in conjunction with the work that was already done years ago. Look at that for yourself. And recently, there's been like multiple from like so many different eras of my life, where it's like there's a pattern here and there's a pattern here, and they keep reminding me of all these different places and spaces that I've been in. And having been in those different places and spaces, there's all these different patterns that are coming up. So I have a feeling, at least for me, I don't know how this is going to work for you on a personal level, if this is resonatory, but at least for me, it feels like there's like fate. It feels like an exponential amount of fate. And I don't know what that means. I don't know what that is. It just feels exponential. It feels something that I wouldn't be able to like predict or ask for. So fate. Okay. And it's a fate that we're blind to. Thank you so much for that clarity. What else do we need to see about this? Oh my goodness. What else do we need to see? The will. What'd you do? Okay. What'd you do? The will? The will. Let me put those down. Spirit's been having me sit with the will today. Normally, this is something that I only talk about on my subscribers only blog space, like the exclusive subs on Substack. I'll like write out blogs for them. And so that's usually the place I talk about the will. But I'm going to yap about it for a second because you know what? Here we are. We're sitting in it. And this is where I feel like we need to talk about it today. So we're going to talk about it. The will. What did you will? What did you do? What did you make? What did you create? Our will is so powerful. Not only is it so powerful, it's, how do I say this? Our will has so many revealings behind it, so many feelings behind it. Our will really is like its own creature, its own creature, its own being, its own creature and its own being. We inherit the will from where we come from ancestrally. And so when it comes to like different crossings that come before us, the crossings that come before us as an individual, that's going to be usually determined by the magic that the lineage that we come from has worked, right? So that magic, whether they were actively practicing magic or it was just them living a human life, still applicable. Those crossings of fate that have come before you, what have you inherited and then what have you done with it? Because we're all born in a different circumstance, under a different circumstance. of that inheritance. We're all born with a different luck, really. We're born with a different luck. We're born with a different sort of like space to begin with. And in that space, there's so many different things that we can change. And I know for my personal self, I've spent a lot of years now going through and working out the, how do I say, working out like motherhood contracts. That's a good way to phrase that. Motherhood contract, and like what was contracted to me. Someone just sent through for order. I see you. What was contracted to me that I didn't really have any say in. It was just things that I had to go through, but I got to choose what I wanted through the process, or like on the other side of it, creating my fates. And Spirit has been clear and specific with me about this season, because the South Node right now is in Virgo. Our eclipse is about to be in Virgo a little less than a week from now. The Virgo space is a lot about, if we're looking at the relationship between Scorpio and Virgo, because the South Node was in Scorpio a couple of years ago, and the lunar nodes, they move in reverse. They go reversed. They don't go through the zodiac and like the wheel forward. They go from 12 to 11 to 10, 9, 8, and they go backwards. So because the nodes go backwards, we just had the South Node in Scorpio, and that was our finalization of a lot of the contracts that have existed for a long, long time. For a lot of people, it's going to be contracts too that have existed on an ancestral lineage sort of space. So not everybody, because it also is personal. So it just depends on the magic you were working. Mine was very ancestrally, linearly connected. So coming into this Virgo South Node, this eclipse that's coming up says to us, hey, you're about to get out of the fates that you've been stuck in. What you've been stuck in, you're about to get out of it. So what have you woven that you've been asking for? Because not only are you going to be done with the contract of whatever it is that you didn't really have a choice in, that you signed up for, and you're done now. So what did you ask for? What did you want? And I asked for a lot. Maybe that's why I don't have all the clarity yet. On a personal level, I asked for a lot. Let me go and see who sent in for a reading. I asked for a lot. So it is what it is, I don't know yet. Maybe that's why I've been seeing so many of the crossings. It's like so many of the different situations. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this one's for Maria. Maria, hello. Maria, will you send me a message in the chat wherever you are at, on whichever page you are on? And for anyone else who's interested in personal readings, if you're on TikTok, my nerves are shot and I'm just tired. I feel back into like a safer space these days, which feels good. But yeah, on TikTok, if you go to the website, go to the menu, it's going to be under Astrology and Magick. There'll be live stream readings there if you're interested in it. It should be linked on YouTube, like in the description. In the description. So yes. Yeah. Asked for a lot. It was broadly put, not dialed down. Yeah. Not dialed down. And I go back and I look at those versions of myself and I'm like, you don't even know what you're asking for, but you know what? Ask away, kid. Ask away. Goodness gracious. I said for the personal reading. Hello. Okay, so let me read your note. Let me see what's up. We got Scorpio rising, Capricorn moon, Aries sun with a Mars and a Mercury. Mars conjunction in Pisces. Whoa. Okay. Moving forward, but also directionless. That's understandable. Let's see for Maria. What is it? Feeling stuck. What are you feeling stuck with? You said I felt very stuck. You feel just like with life? Feeling stuck with life? Is that what you're feeling stuck with? Just kind of like everything? Super easy with the link in your bio. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Are you feeling just stuck with life? Like kind of everything that's coming up? Kind of feeling stuck with everything? What else needs to be said about it? Feeling stuck. Oh, a flipperoo, a seed, something about to come through. A flipperoo. Pretty much getting divorced and stuck in a job I don't love. Understood. What'd you just hear me talk about? Getting out of the contracts we don't want to be in with this eclipse that's coming up? Okay, because what did you say? You have Scorpio rising, Capricorn moon, Aries sun. But the Mars and the Mercury conjunction in Pisces, that's the one where I was like, oh, this will be interesting because Mars is the planet that is offering power to the eclipses so that they can rule themselves. It's like Mars is like, normally I would take this authority and use it for my own, and then we would find victory through there. With the eclipses, though, the way that they circle and cycle with the planets that are like ruling each other, Mars is giving the authority back to the eclipse. Mars is like, no, you make the decision. No, you make the decision. So there's gonna be with the transition that you're going through, interesting because that's the Pisces energy. Piscean energy has us in transition. You have a Mars, your Mars is in Pisces and it's conjunct with your Mercury. Okay, so when it comes to you have is your Neptune in Capricorn? I'm gonna guess that just because that's like generationally around generationally around Neptune and Capricorn. But if not, let me know what your Neptune is in because that'll help me understand kind of like another layer of what the how do I say it is. Okay, beautiful. So the Neptune and Capricorn, then this is okay. Okay, thank you for the clarity on that. Learn for yourself where you've been. Learn for yourself where you've been that you don't want to be again. I've been in this relationship. They've treated me like this. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want this sort of person. I don't want these particulars. I don't. And you have a Capricorn moon too. Okay. Okay. Time to get specific then. That's what that is. Time to get, yeah. Time to get specific about where you've been that you don't want to be again. I don't want to be in this kind of relationship. I don't want to be in this kind of job. I don't want this and I don't want this and I hate this and this sucks and I can't believe I got into that and all the stuff. Go back and it's like decomposition. We're in the final transition of what's been decomposing. Decomposition, what's been in decomposition, what's already actively coming to an end, what's already actively, and it could be that you're like, you don't like this job, you're getting out of this relationship. If there's anything else, because a lot of the times what happens is like the decomposition, that the eclipse that's coming up in on the 14th, it's like the 13th to the 14th, that's going to come through and it's going to take that decomposition out of the garden space. It's like, okay, well, this has been decomposing. We needed you to hold the death for a while. We needed you to hold this doneness for a while is what I'm hearing. It's like you just had to hold it. You had to sit with it. Sometimes things got to get moldy. You know, we have to learn what it is to decompose. There's a lot of power in that. We have to learn what it is to work with death, to honor death, to revere death, to understand those, you know, the lowerings of things instead of the hirings of things, the lowerings of things and like the spreading out of things sometimes too. It's the decomposition. Decomposition, that's what's allowing you a reposition. So if you can see what for you, and if you want to get specific, because the Saturn right now is in Pisces, and then you have a Saturn ruler for your Piscean space also. So if you want to get specific with it and like really, really detailed and structured, it will be helpful, but it don't like make yourself mad over it. You know what I mean? Just do it as you feel like you need to. Yeah, that's for sure. Keep your sanity. We love being sane. Keep your sanity. And also being specific about it will be really helpful for the process moving forward, because then you get to see what is it that's been decomposing. That's what's about to get kind of like lifted up and out. And the thing about Pisces is that we kind of have to have a transitionary point that we're going to. We may not understand it fully. We may not be able to fully articulate it. We may not be able to fully like comprehend it, but we have to be able to somehow bring it into fruition in the sense of like a feeling. Or with you, it's the Mars. Okay, Mars and Mercury. So a lot of the priority is like how you prioritize things and what you're prioritizing and how you prioritize who you're communicating with and how you're communicating with them. This is also probably a really good time to suck the communication back to yourself. Like, don't talk to a whole bunch of people if you don't want them involved in the coming chapters, or however you would not want them involved in the coming chapters. Like, just, you know, I just see you like a sponge. It's like I've been talking to all these people and doing it. It's mine again. I don't have to worry about it. Okay, let me just rest for a little bit. So then you'll be able to see what is it that you need to move into. So like, what kind of job do you want? Do you want a job with health benefits? Do you want a job that offers you stock in the company? Do you want a job that has a healthy working environment? Do you want a job where you are only working like 20 hours a week, but still making the money that I don't know, what is that even like realistic? Do you feel like you could find that? There's so many questions. So like being really specific about that kind of stuff and being really specific about what it is that you would want moving forward, that's also going to allow how do I say, sometimes things, you're not going to have to hold maybe like the death anymore, but now the soil has the riches of what that decomposition has offered to it. So the stuff that's making you feel like gunky and funky in not a good way, because funky can be fun, but like funky, literally fun is in funky, lol. But to be in a space where it's like the gunky, like just kind of maybe junky, like the energy you don't want to be in, that's what's getting picked up, and like you're being warded out, being removed from those contracts. So if you're able to, thank you, Spirit, if you're able to look at what that is, let me go back to it because I don't want to just talk in a circle. There's another point that I was trying to get to. The richness of the soil, correct. The seed, because that's the card that came out. Okay, so let's bring it all the way back. The seed, everything had to decompose, because now when you get specific about this is what I want, this is where I want to go, these are the things I want to do, this is the kind of relationships I want in my life, and all the, for years kind of in the future, if you wanted to look at years in the future, this is a good time to do that. That's the seed that you're planting in this season, like the eclipse season, over the coming probably like month, really until Venus retrograde is over. That's a good like time period. That happened April 13th is when Venus retrograde turns around, and it's a full moon in Libra, which is ruled by Venus. That's going to be fun. I haven't talked about the astrology of that one yet on my channel. It's too much, but it's going to be a good one. So it's going to be a really good one. It's going to be like revelatory. Okay, we're going to be able to revel in it. So you're planting a seed in this season, where you want to go, what you want to do, what you want to be. And everything that's been decomposing has given you like a lot of nutrients in the soil, a lot of richness in the soil. And it's going to help to bring like fertility. Let me bring some more cards so that what you're planting can actually grow. Interesting. This is also not, thank you for that clarification. This is also not just a seed that you need. This is the seed that you're planting in this season. This is the seed that you want. What do you want? So what is it that you really want? What kind of life do you want to live? What kind of, those are the two things that you mentioned that are like getting divorced and then stuck in a job that you don't love. Like that's a big part of your life. We spend most of our time with our partner, spouse, and at work. Those are like two main things that takes up a lot of time. So if you're looking at your life and you're like, what is it that I really want? Like if I could live my dream, that's the question. A scream. That's the question. If I could live my dream, what would I do? If I could live my dream, what would it be? If I could live my dream, how can I start taking steps right now to make that a possibility? Have I already taken steps to make that a possibility? What have I done already? And what have these situations that I've been through that really sucked? What have those situations and those experiences offered to me so that now I can be even closer to living my dream here where I am? All that resonates so well. Good. I'm grateful for that. I think a big part of my stuck feeling is just this, not having a clear idea of what it is that I want. Okay, so let's look at that. Hold on. Let's look at it. Yeah, easy. Let's look at it. Let's go to a different deck. Hold on. There's another deck out of the corner of my eye. It's my fate deck. It's calling to me. It's calling to me. So we're going to sit with the fate deck for this one. Looking at, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? How do you get a clear idea of what you want? What do you want? Yeah. Interesting. Money for sure. Look at the money. That's like money for sure. You're in a job that you don't like. You're probably, I don't know what it is like to go through a divorce on a financial level, but I'm sure probably that's a lot of money for like lawyers and stuff like that. Nothing comes for free. So look at the money, look at the money, look at the money, look at the lifestyle, look at the money, look at the lifestyle. I just keep like, look at the money, look at the money. That's really important for you. I'm not sure exactly why, but for some reason it is. So look at the money, look at the money, look at the money, look at the money. What have you been in the money that you don't like? What have you been in? What's making you feel stuck about the money that you have around you right now? Because you could have honey money, you could have sweet money, you could have money that tastes like sugar, rye gold, stories untold, fruits of the labor, something to savor, but you're in money right now where you're like, this sucks. I don't want this. So what is it about the money that you want different? So looking at the money, look at the money, look at the money. Cause like that's something that we need in this world to be able to live the dreams that we want to live a lot of the times, unless your dream is to be a train hopper. And even then you got to have money to be able to buy food every once in a while, so which there's nothing wrong with being a train hopper. Those stories honestly are really inspiring to me. That's the truth. That's the truth about it. Honestly, being a human is such a weird experience. But look at the money. You got to look at the money. If you can understand what it is that you want in the money, it's going to help you understand kind of like, well, I could do this kind of work, or like I could live that kind of lifestyle. It'll open up your mind to different things. There's something about money that you understand. How do I say? You have a different perspective on money than I do. So when you start thinking about money and what money can bring to you, you're going to see, I don't understand this exactly in the way that like your head is thinking about it, but you're going to be able to see it's like sparks of inspiration where you're like, okay, if that's the kind of money that I want, well, I could go do these things. And if that's the kind of money that I want, well, I could live this kind of life, or I could work in that kind of job. So look at the money of it. Look at the money of it. Money's not as much as I would like. And then then work on your mindset changes. If you can look at the money and say, this is what I want, and this is kind of the lifestyle that I want, then start to work with your mind. And what do I mean by that? Start to work with your mind in the sense of like, okay, well, what would that person, that version of me that's in the future, what would they think like? What would they think like? If I was living that kind of life and I was living that kind of, pardon me, oh my goodness, that was like such a big burp. I don't know if you heard that or not. That came out of nowhere. That came out of nowhere. Okay. Releasing, I suppose, also true. Because it's like being able to, thank you, Spirit, being able to look into the future and say, that's the version of me that I want to be. That's the version of me that I see. That's the version of me that can, accomplish these things. So then it's about getting through to your own self, getting through to your own mind and saying, okay, I need to unwind maybe some old belief systems or maybe some old perspectives of things. What is it that I need to also be thinking so that I can be in that position? How do I need to look at, like, what kind of perspectives would that version of me have? If I was going to live that kind of life, I was going to make that kind of money, what perspectives internally here, what would that look like? What would that be? How would I participate in my life mentally if I'm in that position? So start to then alter your mind. And that's going to be something I see on like a time frame. That's going to be kind of a focus for a while, because you're still going to be living your life. There's still going to be some things that are like, that you, how do I say, you still have to make money to live, right? So like while you don't have to make money to live, but in society, in the systems, let's be more specific, in society and in the systems that we live in, to be able to keep your housing and like, food and shelter and all those different things. So there's still going to need to be those responsibilities while you're making those transitions. And they're also going to be like, sometimes there's going to be rapid, quick changes. It's the Five of Swords. So it's like the change of the air. There's going to be rapid, quick changes where you're like, all of a sudden I've met someone who aligns with this new path that I've been thinking about. Or all of a sudden there's just this thing that all of a sudden I've been working on my mental stuff. And it's like, well, maybe like a month and a half, 2 months later, you're like, whoa, all of a sudden, a couple months later, several months later, oh my gosh, all of a sudden, oh my gosh, all of a sudden. Oh my gosh, all of a sudden. You're going to start saying that like pretty often. I have a feeling, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I just met this person. Oh my gosh, all of a sudden I just had a mentor. Oh my gosh, all of a sudden I just like started to realize that that's what I wanted. Oh my gosh, all of a sudden things just started to work out for me. That's crazy. That's crazy. Those are really the two things to focus on. Because once you have for you with your mental, if you're able to make those mental shifts, it's like get really focused in this eclipse season on making decisions on what you want, and then have your perspective mental start to shift that, and you're gonna start to receive the gifts that you're really looking for. It's like you're already really mature in whatever it is that you're doing and whatever it is that you're asking for. So there's not a lot of things that are gonna have to be like rooted out. You're already holding a lot of that decomposition stuff that's going to be kind of cleared from you pretty soon, or like revered in the clearing. as this transition goes on. Interesting. So the mental, once you work with the mental, be parental to the mental. Okay, mind, I see you. I see you working in this specific way. Okay, mind, I see you working in these specific things. What if we started thinking like this? I love that. Wrote it down as how I need to see that life. I love that. Is there any other I feel like that's like the tool that you need. I feel like that is sometimes I feel like that is the tool. Cuz what I see is like if you really work with that, it's clear and clean. Yeah. Is there any questions you have? Is there any other help that you need? If you're able to, is there any other help that you need with your wants and your desires and your dreams? Anything else that I can offer? Anything else I can offer? You know? Thank you. I love these cards too. The cards I've been doing. Hey to you. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Yeah. Yeah, you let me know how you feel about it. Let me know how you feel. I would be interested if any deities or spirits come through. Oh, well, let me sit then. Let me not pull cards. Let me sit. Do you already work with deities? Do you already like make offerings? I need to ask that before I go into it. Is that already a part of your practice? Is it already something that you do? I just need to know where you come. Are you asking because you're looking to have relationships with deities? Are you asking because you made offerings, you're waiting to hear back from them? Are you asking? I have. Okay, beautiful. What is it that Spirit's asking me to ask why you're asking? Why are you asking? What's the reason that you're asking? Or like what's the don't ask me to sit in so much blindness is what I hear too. What's the reason you're asking? What's the reason you're asking behind it? That's gonna help me bring through a clearer answer for you, or like a clearer, like more specific. It'll be whoa, hello, nail, crazy. That was wild. It's waned lately. Okay. So I'm looking for where to go next. Oh no. It's okay. No worries on the typing slow. I talk fast, so it's all right. So it's all right. Okay, well then let me look at it. Why'd you stop making? You said it's Wayne. Why'd you stop? Well, that's what I hear is like, why'd you stop making offerings? You stopped making offerings because you weren't hearing from anybody. You stopped. Sometimes it takes years for those offerings to come and return to you. Sometimes you offer something to the gods or the deities or however they would be called in your practice. Sometimes you offer to them, and then they're like, okay, well, give us 6 years, but you don't hear that, you don't know that, so you're blind to it, and then you don't hear anything from them, and you're like, well, is it even working? Like, what? But if you don't keep feeding them, then that thing that was gonna take 6 years is now going to take 8 years. So what I hear is like, you got to keep up on it. Even if it feels like they're not around, even if it feels like, thank you, Spirit. Even if it feels like that you're like alone in the world and they're not helping and they're not near you or they're not, you got to keep putting things into the pot. You got to keep putting things into the cauldron. You got to keep putting things out there. Because if you stop putting things out there, then they're going to look at you and be like, okay, well, we're withering away now. So we can't keep working on those other things that you asked for. Life got overwhelming and I stopped off. You know what? And I understand that, dude. If I could call you dude. I understand that. I went through a time period of that too. And it's a gentle, reverent place to be. And also, if you think about this too, if you start to, because when I was going through a lot, that's, a real thing. As a human, we go through hard things sometimes. So when I was going through a lot, that's when I stopped practicing too. I put everything down. And I was like, Magick got me into this mess. So why would I keep offering? This is ridiculous. Like Magick got me into this and my life sucks right now. But I didn't see at the time though, is that kind of similar to where like all this decomposition is. And it's like making the soil that you are very rich and like full of nutrients so that you can grow something new for yourself. I didn't have that perspective. I was just looking at my life and I was like, this is horrible. Like this is horrible. And I know that my practice is what got me into this. I know that me practicing is what got me into this. And I was like, okay, well then I need to take a break because I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this. I just need a time. I need a time for myself so I don't have to focus on this. I need time for myself so I'm not making offer. I need that. I need it. I need it. So I did that. So I took space. I took time because I was done. I was tired. I was tired. I was angry. I was venomous kind of also. I was a little bit like, in my life. It was a hard place to be. So I understand that. I understand not wanting to get up and not wanting to make offerings. And also, your life probably will drastically improve if you do start making offerings again. If you do start, it's going to be, how do I say? For me, at least, I'll share my experience. Like when I was going through that and I stopped making offerings and then I started practicing again, it was kind of like they were talking to me like, okay, kid, you got to clean up your mess now. Like you've taken all this time to practice magic and make offerings to us. And there's some really great things that have happened. And there's also some really like kind of hard things that have happened. So now it's time to clean up your mess. So let's work together, kind of, is like, was the energy that now that I have the perspective of time, like some distance, yeah, it's like, okay, now it's time to clean up your mess. Nobody wants to clean up the mess. No. Do you like cleaning the kitchen? No. Do you like to vacuum the floors and mop everything? No. It's fun sometimes while you're doing it. It's like, okay, yeah, I can make it a party. Let's listen to music. I'm going to drink my coffee or whatever makes it fun. You can have an enjoyable time, but I don't normally look at things and be like, yeah, it would be my favorite, most top priority of joy to go and clean that right now. Usually that's not how I look at things. So like if your life feels messy, then probably you're looking at that and being like, yeah, definitely not top priority for joy. And it is, but sometimes we got to sit in the muck and we have like, if you're like covered in dirt and you're covered in just, love you dirt and I love you soil. And also if you're covered in the mess and like the life that you're living is not what you want and it's a little bit messy, if you start to, it's like every single time that you would go and make an offering or every single time that you would talk to them or every single time that you would give gratitude to them, it's like there's a chunk that falls off and you're like, whoa, I didn't even mean to do that. Okay, let me go get the broom. Sweep it up. Oh, there's some extra that fell off today. That's crazy. I was just talking to them about whatever it is. Okay, wow, cool. Let me go clean it up now. Easy. It's like one thing at a time. Because when you're in the middle of it and you're at kind of like the bottom, that's that period of my life where I was stopped, where I didn't practice. And I was like, I consider that the bottom. I was like in a pit at that point. So there was a practice that got me to the pit. And then I had to start practicing again to get myself up and out of the pit, which I don't think is how do I say? I don't know if it was like the pit or like the, what I mean? I don't know if it was the pit, but it was still a place of like, I was very much down and it was like a suction that was keeping me there. So when I started practicing again, it helped me get back up. And I'm also seeing now from that time period, because that was several years ago at this point, and from that several year period, in that I'm starting to see the offerings I was making back then start to come back in. So it's like I had to sit and not practice because I was calling death. Love you, death. I was calling death into my space and into my life to say, listen, I have to close this. Everything that I've been through in this life that I was living, like I cannot be that person anymore. I cannot practice like this anymore. I cannot, there's still similar fundamentals, and like I'm still me, And at the same time, it created that time period. That's time magic. Love you, time. It created a time barrier where in my life, now that those offerings, when I started practicing again, like I took that time to not do anything and not practice. Okay, so let there be stillness. And then I started practicing again and it brought new life in. But there was that barrier of time in the middle where now that I'm several years later receiving those new offerings that I was making back then, and because sometimes it takes years for things to come all the way back around. So I had this time period up for a while where I was just clearing out stuff. I was clearing it out and I was clearing it out and I was clearing it out. And they're telling me right now, where I'm sitting currently in my practice, the spirits in my practice, they're like, okay, well, you're basically done with that. The new life is coming through. You've seen the offerings you started making when you started to work again and started to practice again. You're seeing those start to ground again. You're seeing the new life start to come through. I just planted some seeds the other day and they're starting to sprout. It's been a while since I've practiced gardening magic and stuff like that. So, there's new coming through. But had I not taken that time to just sit and be and not do anything, I wouldn't have created the time time barrier that was necessary to give myself the time throughout the previous several years to clear out what needed to be cleared. So as you're bringing these new offerings and new, the giving to the deities that are in your practice, those will come later, more than likely. Those will come later on. And before they get there, all this time that you've spent resting, now it's like, okay, now I have to prepare for what I'm offering to ground again. So what is it that I need to clear out? With the mental stuff that was coming through, it sounds like it might be a lot of internal things, a lot of things that are more internal, like the mental, could be emotional things as well, especially with the Capricorn moon. And then you have your Neptune that's ruled by Capricorn with the Mars and the Mercury and Pisces as well. So over the next probably year and a half, that is going to be a focus. Because usually the lunar nodes, they kind of dictate the season of that year and a half time period. And like we don't normally get out of a season before that year and a half period is up with the lunar nodes, especially if you're working like moon magic or you work with those cycles. And especially I found too, for people who are working with gods or like offering to gods and those like long-term practices and the long-term beings, the spirits and the beings that are really long throughout time. So if you're looking at that time period where you've been resting, now it's time to, if you're going to start the practice again, you start activating, you're clearing out what needed to be rested, and then you're making the space so that those new offerings can ground with the life that you're asking for. So it's like a simultaneous clear it up, clean it out, and bring in the new at the same time. Clear it up, clean it out, and bring in the new. Clear it up, clean it out, bring in the new. And it's an interactive process between you and the spirits in your practice as well. So just keep that in mind. That's really beautiful, honestly. It's a long-term process. And I'll also say, as someone who's sitting on pretty much almost the exact other side of it, where those groundings, those offerings I started making are grounding. Thank you for that. That now it's become, how do I say this? It's different. My practice is different. I'm a different person. My life is different as well. And I also have a clearer foundation, or like, it's a more stable foundation. I have a more stable foundation to my practice. I have a more stable foundation to what it is that I do. So that's something that I'll say about it too, is like, there's a lot more safety, or like my practice is more safeguarded now because I learned from what got me into the mess in the first place. And then while I was clearing things out, I made sure to clear out certain things that I really didn't need to bring with me into this foundation. So yeah, that's another thing to think about too. The clearing out is always usually for me, it was, at least, and I don't know that I had that perspective back then, but it was something that was happening. What I was clearing out was reflective of what needed to be brought through. So the death and the life practice at the same time. Yeah. Oh, wow. Interesting. Thanks for that. That was a beautiful channel. Is there anything else that you need help with? That was a good one. That was a good one. Hello. Hello to you too. Wow. Interesting. I'm going to see if I can get this down this way a little bit. That's a little bit better. That's a little bit better. Wow. For anyone else who would like to have a personal reading, they're linked in the bio, Yeah, you're so welcome. Enjoy the process, enjoy the new life when it comes through too, because there was offerings that I was making at the time, way back when. There was offerings I was making at the time, and I was like, didn't really know. I was just called to make them. I was just called to make them. And now that they're landing here in my life, it's like, whoa, I didn't know I was asking for that. I didn't know that that's what I was paying for. Not a bad thing, just like, whoa, like a lot. I didn't know that's what I was paying for. Okay, interesting. I didn't know that's what I was paying for, and it's showing up. So it's like I'm learning. It's a different kind of magic. It's a different kind of magic. Yeah. Crazy for me to drop in while talking about death. Yeah, death work I revere it, Yeah, I revere it. Teach us some garden magic. Oh my goodness, I love garden magic. I love it. Let me go get my sprouts. Let me go get my seeds, because I haven't shown anybody the seeds that I've been sprouting. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize I had a payment I could collect. You mean with the spirits? Interesting. If that's what you mean. Interesting. Yeah, the spirits are they're interesting. For Daniela, hello. How do we get a personal? If you go to the link in my bio and you go to the menu, there's astrology and magic and live stream readings. Yeah, and they'll be there for you. So yeah, there's nobody on the list right now either. So yeah, yeah. But yeah, let me go get my sprouts. They're so good. They're apple sprouts. They're apple trees. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I also planted some succulents recently, like you know how you can, is it called propagating? Where you can break off the stem or break off the like part of the succulent, right? We break off the like a leaf, but it's not a leaf. I don't know what they're called. The like, the chunk of succulent. Also somebody just sent through for a reading. I see you. I see you. So good. But yeah, I broke those off. And I didn't know, I'd never done that before. I'd never grown succulents from like the propagatory, what a big word, from the propagatory stage of things. So I didn't know if it was going to work or not, but I've got oh, there's another one. There was just one recently. Okay, so I'll show them to one screen at a time. But look at, it's an apple tree. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy to think that tiny little thing there on that side, that tiny little thing, that tiny little spruit, the tiny little guy, just this tiny little seed, that had little popped his head out and said, hello, I live now. Hello, I live now. That's going to be a big old tree with apples growing on it one day. That's crazy. That's crazy. So there's a couple of them that have started to sprout in here. This one, I'm looking forward to growing them. That I haven't grown. It's been a long time. I haven't grown, and I'm keeping them in like a little, kind of like an incubation space to make sure that they, the moisture is still contained while they're just little sproutlings, little sprouts, because they're gonna give us fruits one day, and I'm so excited. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful, and I've been sitting here. One of the things I love to do with my plants is like, aren't you the cutest? Thanks. The baby apple tree is so good. One of the things I love to do with my plants, you're looking for plant magic, okay? You want to learn some plant magic, and you're like growing plants, or like you want to, commune magic with your plants and practice magic with your plants. Sit and talk to them. Sit and hold them. Sit and if you can, like, even if they're like in the earth, you can sit and put your hands on the earth near their roots. Sit in, or like hold the stems of them. I sit and like, because we're animals, but we're living beings too, so like you can sit and talk with them. I love you so much. Love you so much. And then you imbue and imbue, and then they love you too, usually, then they love you too. And then it's like you can, because they're a being, you're like raising up a child that will eventually give fruit to you. That's crazy. That's crazy. We're going to leave the little sproutling over here today. Thanks, sproutling. So good. Baby Earthy. I'm so excited for that to be an actual apple tree, because the previous time, that was a crazy time in my life. We were just talking about in the previous reading, we were talking about the kind of death period that I went through. There was a whole entire chapter of my life in like 2018 to 2019 where I was growing. Also for Katie, that's the next reading. Let me tell my story, wrap up my story, and then we'll get into the reading. Also, Katie, will you send me how do I say, a message on the channel that you're on? Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, there was a time period, and I was working so much fertility magic. And there's another one that just got sent through too. I was working so much fertility magic and so much flower magic and so much plant magic. Like I was really, really sitting and working with the fairies. And then there was some seeds that got sown in that were kind of poisonous. We'll leave it there. There's a lot of, other stories I could tell, but we're going to leave it at that. And so then I had planted like this huge tray of plants. Like I was like starting to level up, and I had planted and they got infested with just horrible, horrible energy. Plant magic is crazy. So that's the other thing to pay attention to, is like if your plants if there's things going wrong with your plants, then, it could be a warning of things that are about to maybe go wrong in your life. So just because it was twice. it got infested with like these tiny little bugs that I'd never seen before. I lived in that apartment for a long time and have been growing plants in there for a long time. And I'd never seen them before. They just came out of nowhere. And then it got confirmed later on who I thought it was. And like probably a year and a half later, like years later, it's like interesting. And then from there, because what happens if you're planting a whole bunch of seeds and they get infested, well, then every single one of those has to get pulled out of the garden. That's a lot of death work. That's a lot of like removal and clearing work. So that's when I was like, this is a lot. This is a lot. So, but now I've gone through the process of fortification, and like I really have, at least from where I'm sitting in my experience of what I need and is necessary for myself, there's a process of fortification. So I'm really working with probably the sprouts that are sprouted now are going to be here for a really long time. So I really want this apple tree. Is that something I want to share? Do I want to share that? Sure, I'll share it. I really want this apple tree to give apples to my grandkids one day. I really want that. I really, really want that. Tiny little babies. Apples. Oh, so good. Okay, so let's look at, yeah, so good. Not just my kids, but my grandkids. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. Uh-huh. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. I don't know. I was going back through. Sorry, I didn't mean to shake the camera there. The list is not closed. Accepted or purpose? Yeah, the list is open. So if you want to come and get a reading, you totally can. The first one's for Katie. For Katie. Is that? I feel like I've given a reading. I'm like, I know I've had you in the space before. I'm pretty sure, right? I'm pretty sure. I'm not always super familiar with the emails and things like that, but you have. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Beautiful. The Kate and the Katie. Very not the same ending, but close. Okay. The other one is for Shauna. So let's go to Katie's and then we'll go to Shauna's. Also, thank you for clarifying. Oh my goodness. I've noticed recently, because there was a artist. I'm gonna tell a little story. I'm not in a rush today. I hope everybody's all right with that. I hope you're okay with that. The patience, thank you. There's an artist I supported a long time ago who's like a local artist in Kansas City, and he remembered me. I bought tickets to one of his shows, and he was like coming up in the scene then. And I bought tickets to one of his shows, and he remembered me. We were at another event, and he was like, "Wait a minute, I know you. You bought a ticket to my show. Thanks for going. Thanks for supporting me." And I was thinking about that the last time I was on my live stream. I was like, because Spirit's been having me look at the abundance that's around me recently. And I was like, I have so much abundant support around me that I literally could not, if I tried to, remember every single person. And I was like, how do I say? I'm learning how to navigate that now because it's different than where I started when I was doing this. It's very different. So thank you for being here and for supporting me and for the incredible offering an opportunity, and also for the patience, because there are some times where I know I've worked with people, but I work with so many people that it's like how do I say? I think I would overwhelm myself if I tried to remember everything. So that's crazy. Yeah. Okay. Let's go. Let's see. Any information about important transits of the natal chart? You want me to read your natal chart? Then I need to have your birthday information. Can you send me? You don't need to put it on the chat, like in the chat. Don't put it in the chat. Don't put your birthday and everything in the chat. But if you go send me a DM, I can open it on. I sent all the stuff already. Did you send it in the DMs already? Hold on. Let me open it up. Ooh. Let's check it out. Yes. Okay. Beautiful. Let me pull it up then. Oh, hello. You can load. Take your time. Every once in a while. Like I said, the abundance of like support. I haven't been on my TikTok desktop in a really long time. And so it just did a big update. It just did a big update. Okay, hold on. Let me find it. Did you send it? Like, how do I say? Like, right now, today, or is this like an old message? If it's an old message, you're probably gonna have to resend it because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it, to be quite honest with you. And so sorry for the double. So sorry for the doubles. Let me see if I can. I'll scroll back and see if I can find it. Speaking of, yes, today. Okay, let me update this again then, because I don't know where it is. Saying not sent. Saying not sent. My how do I say? You could try. I don't really like Meta, but you could try Instagram if you have that one. I don't mind. Sorry. I can just throw it up here. I don't mind. You definitely don't. Okay. Well, that works too. I was gonna say you definitely don't have to do that, but that works too. All right. Let's see. So you said March. Hey, happy birthday! Hey, happy birthday! Hey, it's your birthday. Well, kind of. It's like after your birthday, but happy birthday. That's awesome. 78. Okay. Hey, happy birthday. Hey, happy birthday. That's good. Okay. Time 3 and PM. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. And then New York. Okay. Let's get this into Placidus. And you said anything important for the transits? Any important information for the transits? Okay. Ooh. Is there anything, how do I say? Is there anything that, because I could say, if we are reading on a general level, I could sit here for 3 hours and yap everybody's ears off, but we're not going to do that. So if you have, and is there anything specific that you're working with or anything specific that you're like calculating in your life right now? Or like, is there anything, how do I say this? Yeah. How do I say this? That is what I want to say. You did just get out of a lunar node opposition. Okay. So there's a big change in position you've just been through. A lunar node opposition is meant to flip you all the way right around. All the way right around. It's like everything that you thought that you were going through, the relationship, beautiful. We can definitely look at that. It's also going to be, okay, that makes sense that that's coming up because that's a part of your 7th house is Pisces. So this big kind of flip around with the lunar nodes, it's supposed to flip your like world upside down a little bit. And it's meant to say that goals that you thought were going to happen maybe in a year or two are going to happen in a way bigger way in the future. So it's like setting you up. Saturn conjunct Venus. You're also going through a Venus return, and Venus during its retrograde, I don't know if it'll come back to that exact degree where your Venus is, but it'll be pretty close if it's not exact. And then you also, Saturn is like on top of your Mercury right now, pretty much, and then is also conjunct with that Venus. So it's, how do I say? The relationship, you asked about relationship. What I hear about that on like a spiritual psychic level is like, why are you worried about relationship? Well, I guess that's true. If it's like a physical, intimate relationship, then maybe, but or like looking at that, because the 8th house is about way, how do I say this? The Saturn and I have been chilling a while, yeah. Because you have your Uranus in Scorpio. You have your Uranus in Scorpio. Oh my goodness. That's an interesting generation that I've been reading for a couple of months. Spirit keeps bringing in people who have, for my readings, Spirit keeps bringing people in who have Uranus in Scorpio, because now we have Pluto in Aquarius. Strange. Okay. So thank you, Spirit. So good. Wow. Let your love life rearrange. Let it feel strange. Let it feel different. Let it feel weird. Let it just be what it needs to be. It's meant to be different right now than it really ever has been. It's meant to be different right now than it ever has been. You're also meant to do different things because this is the eighth house. So this is like people that you're exchanging with. Could be business, could be relationship. If you want to apply it to your relationships, okay. People that you're exchanging with. So if you're making exchanges in more personal relationship ways, then with where Saturn is current, like this is saying it's time to level up because the North Node's in there too. It's not only time to level up, it's time to get specific about some things. And Neptune is also about to transition into Aries, which is still technically in your eighth house. And also, how do I say this? It's about to be a like new activation. That's on the 30th of this month. New activation. So let yourself be weird. It's how do I say? You're not really supposed to know what's going on right now. You're not supposed to know, but you're supposed to know. You're in does that make sense? I hope that resonates. It's like you're not supposed to know, but you're supposed to know. You're not supposed to be able to tell the truth about everything in that area of your life, but you're also supposed to be able to tell a lot of the truth in that area of your life. Also, because Saturn's here, it's like specific details, and it could. Oh, it does. Okay, good. So when it comes to the change, it's supposed to feel different. You're also probably being asked to do different things within relationship-based places that are not making any sense to you. If you follow it, you're going to be in the North Node energy, and the North Node is an elevating position. It elevates us in our purpose. It elevates us on our spiritual paths. And that elevation, it comes at a cost. So just understand that if you're going to be going through that, that there is going to be a cost to it. Sometimes, how do I say? The cost could be like, for example, if you're going to be in your joy, the cost is your misery. You can't be both at the same time. So, I mean, you could, but that would be kind of confusing. Maybe you could be. I don't know. For me, that's like a very simple example. Okay, let's not make it too complicated. So, if you're going to be in your joy, then the cost is your misery. So, just looking at kind of like these new practices that you're being asked to step into, or these new things that you're being asked to do with relationship based places and relationship, like that's a high regard, a high elevation, a higher manifestation. Also, it's like you're meant to be uncomfortable. Is it trust that you're uncomfortable with? Is it the practices that you're keeping with your person? Or like, yeah, I don't know what the basis of your relationship based place in your life is. So just, in reverence of kind of like adapting what I say to fit the way that your world is working right now. Yes, reverence to that. So there could be a lot of just like uncomfortable things happening. So again, like trust, is it new practices that are making you uncomfortable? Is it new perspectives that are making you uncomfortable? Getting out of the comfort zone and making sure also Pisces, thank you, Spirit, is a trickster. So if you have Pisces is the oldest and wisest trickster. So just making sure that even if you are called to things that you don't understand and you're doing new things that make you uncomfortable, is this still a part of my plan? You have to keep checking in with that. Is this still a part of my plan? Is this still something I want to do? Is this still the kind of relationship that I want? Is this still the kind of person I want to be in my relationship? Is this still me? And even if you're changing and you don't recognize yourself, is it still me? Do I still feel like myself, even though I'm new, even though this is different, even though this is fresh or a refresher, even though that's different and I'm different and these practices are different and I'm a little bit uncomfortable in this area, valid. And also, is this still the direction I want to go in? Does this direction feel like the direction I need to be going in? Is this direction the direction where I feel like I'm going to receive the things that I'm asking for? Because if at any point you realize that you're off course, then there's probably somebody else. It's your eighth house. There's probably someone else who is profiting from you. If at any point you feel off course, clock it, lock it, put it in the pocket. Okay, walk with it. Now you have that information. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to move about it? Because the eighth house is also about the will. So it's like the things this is an interesting dynamic. The things that you are willing and how you will them are going to be returned in your relationship based places, especially if there are any wills of spiritual practices, any offerings that you're making. It'll come through that partner. It'll come through, it'll like be returned. It'll come through and it's a very, very specific kind of unionship when someone has a Pisces eighth house. Thank you, Spirit. When someone has a Pisces eighth house and they are involved with another person on a physical union body space, okay, read between the lines a little bit. We are on, community guidelines and stuff like that. So when that happens, and you're in that kind of relationship and you have a Pisces 8th house, that means that the work that you're doing in the spirit, the offerings you're making in the spirit that seemingly have nothing to do with your partner, seemingly have nothing to do with the person that you're with. They don't have anything to there. You're making offerings to gods, or you're making offerings to your ancestors, or you, however, okay. If you or the other person has a Pisces 8th house, the spirits that you're making offerings to are now involved in that intimate relationship for both of you. The practices you're keeping are now involved with the both of you. The practices that they're keeping are now involved with the both of you. So the way that you practice on an individual level, you and this other person, the way that you practice on an individual level within your practices, now it's like they get sent up to the spirits of the individual teams. And now the spirits that you're with are unioned because of that. And they're going to cross the returns. So what you offer in your practice to your spiritual team and your spiritual place and your altars and things like that, however it is that you keep your practice, that's going to go up to them and it's going to be returned through that, how do I say, that other person, and then it'll be returned to you. So it filters through two and then back to you. If it's going, and you're still going to get the return from those spirits probably also directly. And there's an extra layer now because you have that kind of relationship. So then the other person, the way they're working their practice and what they're doing, that's going to get set up into their spiritual spaces and it's going to come down to you and it's going to go back to them. And they're probably going to have their relationship with them and their spirits too. People who have 8th house in Pisces, you have to have a partner, in my opinion. And this is my opinion. Okay. So if you disagree with this is totally fine. You have to have a partner who is also spiritually very responsible. Because if you don't have a partner who's also very spiritually responsible, things could go haywire. Your energy could get taken from you. People could mooch off of you, spiritually speaking. And that is like very dangerous if you like really start to get into it. It can be. So that's something to look at. And probably because Saturn is here as well, the North Node's here, Neptune's here right now in the chart for you. You're going to be moving through, because where's your Neptune in Sagittarius? And then you have, where's your Gemini? And you're having a Jupiter return right now. Oh, curious. I vaguely remember your chart. I feel like I vaguely remember this. That or I just remember the time period. Because like I said, Spirit's been bringing people to me for a couple months now who have this time period of a chart. Interesting. Interesting. And a Mars one. That's true. The masculine returning to you, and a Venus. It's like your Mars, Jupiter, and your Venus all at the same time. That's crazy. Okay, cool. Good for you. The reason I say the Jupiter is because Jupiter rules your Neptune, and Neptune rules that 8th house space, and that's where the North Node is right now. So how do I say this? You're in a preparation phase currently. You're preparing. If you're with your partner and you have a partner, can I ask so that I can speak more specifically? Do you have a partner? Do you have a relationship? Or do you like, what's the kind of like basis of space? That'll make it easier for me to talk to you about it. If you will offer that to me. If not, I can keep speaking really generally, but if you want to let me know, I can also speak more specifically on it. It's up to you. LOL. Sure, husband. Okay, beautiful. So you're being prepared for something. You're in a preparation phase right now. However, that husband relationship is, it's because you're having a Jupiter return, you're having a Mars return. Those are going to be the masculine archetypes that normally we would look at for like a feminine, masculine based relationship space. And you're going through a Venus return. The Jupiter is what rules that 8th house indirectly. Where's your Mercury? Okay, so it's a circle because your Mercury is in the 8th house in Pisces. So you have a circle. So there's preparation. You're being prepared for something. Pisces is also about transition. So take the time over the coming like months. You'll start to feel the finalization of the preparation, probably like May, end of May, early June, and then definitely into July. Like definitely into July. And you said Pisces. Okay. So definitely into July, you'll feel the preparation. You're like, okay, yeah, I've been prepared. So kind of look around at like, what are you asking for of more in that relationship? What is that relationship kind of turning into? What are you asking for in that relationship? What do you want more of? How are you being prepared? What are you sharing with them? How are they sharing with you? And then looking at the as I explained, the back and forth of the spiritual practices for people who have Pisces 8th house. Also, you could start to study too because it's a Pisces eighth house, and then you said they're a Pisces also, and you're a Pisces. I think that's what that Pisces means. Um, and that's in the eighth house for you. So you could also look to see how those physically intimate relations are changing the practices that you're keeping on an individual level, and how those physically intimate practice, like you could get really specific if you wanted to bring, how do I say this? This is not me saying go practice that kind of magic, because that kind of magic is like really explosive. So very much discernment. If you wanted to read into that on another reading, we could totally do that. I do not feel comfortable doing that in this session. Like, go sit with it, and then if you want to return, and we could talk about it later. And because you got to digest some things, that's what I feel about it. It's like digest with it, rest with it, and then if you want to have another discussion at another time, and you're like, actually, I am ready for that practice, then we can talk about it. And maybe you already do that. I don't know. But if you wanted to get specific about the more intimate, personally intimate practices with your husband, and bring in certain aspects of, like, how do I say? It could alter your practice in a way of, like, greatness. And it's also not something that you would need to be doing, but it's something that's already naturally in that relationship. It's already naturally there because of the placements that you have. So if you're aware of what's already happening because of those relationship, that intimate relationship, then you'll be able to, how do I say? Beautiful. I had to prove to TikTok that I'm a person. I had to, the little like recapture things that you got to do. They make the creators do one after, I think it's like an hour or something like that. Anyways, so yeah, the practice that you keep in the bedroom is going to alter kind of everything else in your life. So if you can look at that and how it's reflecting to everything else, and then looking back and forth at how the practices that you as husband and wife are keeping, and what those practices are doing to each other, because it's like I said, the up and the down, the crossings of the receiving, how that's crossing for each other and what that looks like. There's a preparation. I don't know exactly what it is. You're going through a preparation phase right now, though. Preparation phase, and come like end of May and June, you'll start to see, oh, okay, I get it now. Right now is like collecting, it's like a sponge, absorbing the information. Those are going to be the areas of concentration of study. And then come the end of May and early June, there you're going to be able to say, "Oh, okay, I understand now. Okay, I understand now." Okay, as long as you studied, of course. Okay, I understand now. And then July, there'll be some things that kind of get moving because you're aware of the practice now. You're aware of it. You can take care of it, move forward with some things. But that's the focus of study when it comes to relationship. Yeah. Do you have any questions? That was kind of a big thing. It was a big chunk. It was a big chunk of like a brick. I don't know if a brick is the same word that you would use for that, but that was definitely a big chunk. Big chunk that was received. Yeah. A big chunk of receiving. You know what? Actually, also that's valid. Also too, yes, that's valid. But yeah, if there's any questions you have about it, let me know, because that's a big one. Definitely sit with it. If you have, how do I say that? If you have other questions about it at another point and you want to get more specific about it, we can. And also, feels like it doesn't need to be right now. Because there were some other things where I was like, well, I could talk about that or go, but it doesn't feel like it needs to be right now. So if you sit with it, say you sit with it for like a month or however long, maybe not even, I don't know. If you really feel like you sat with it and understood it, and like, held it, rested with it, and you're like, maybe I need some more help, then we can talk about it again. But until then, really sit with it, because a lot of the stuff, like eighth house stuff, takes time. Eighth house stuff, and Saturn is in Pisces right now, so definitely takes time. Yeah, eighth house stuff takes time because it's coming from the underworld. It comes from the underworld all the way, and it's going to come through all the shadows, and then it comes up into the light. That takes time to do that. And then Saturn's in your eighth house right now too, so it's like extra time. It's like extra details, extra time, extra details. So really, just pay attention. And the more time that you spend on it, the more time that you are, like, how do I say? The more time the Saturn has been on each, yeah. the dad coming through to make sure that the kid planets that are in that space are like taken care of, you know? Yeah. Goodness gracious. That's crazy. So, yeah. Okay. Huh. Let it take time then. Let it take time. Sometimes things take time. And one of the other things about the eighth house is that you'll probably get like little tidbits here and there, little tiny bites every day. It's like just a little bit. Okay, next day, just a little bit. But if you can apply it to other places in your life, it makes those tiny little bites like entire meals, but they have to be applied in other areas. So when you get those tiny little things and you're like, wait a minute, I just saw that. When you can clock, you're like, oh wait, that is underworld information. That comes from the underworld. Interesting. And me and my husband were just talking about that. Or that just happened in our relationship. Or we just were experiencing that. Okay. And I received some information on how to do with it. Okay, well, let me sit in an application. Let me sit and understand a little bit more. And then it can turn into a whole meal, but it's gonna look like just kind of like a tiny little bite. So yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Huh. Uh-huh. Interesting. I have not yet taken I take mushrooms every day. Not the super fun kind, okay? I take mushrooms of like the smart mushroom superfood to help with my brain. And I haven't taken them today. And I can feel that I am gonna need to sit with them. So I'm gonna do that. As I'm taking, how do I say? Like pills on a live stream. I just want to explain myself before I pop them into my mouth. LOL. That's what they are. I promise. But that's what I got for you. So go sit with it, digest it, rest it. And then if you want to come back and talk about it some more, if you have more questions, we totally can. But Also for Shauna, you said anything Pluto related. Look at that running together. Interesting. Okay. So general reading. Anything Pluto related. All right. Thinking a lot about Pluto. Well, then let's think about Pluto. Pluto is a trickster is the first thing that came to my mind. I was literally just talking to somebody else about that today. Pluto's a trickster. Pluto's a trickster. Thank you for just witnessing my self-care time. Make sure I get my daily vitamins. Gotta get my lips taken care of. Oh my goodness. Let's do it. Let's look at it. Pluto. Pluto is a trickster. Pluto is like, how do I say this? Pluto is a trickster, dude. Pluto is a trickster. Interesting. I've been doing my nails this whole time. Shout out to that. Pluto also connects us to the ancestors. Interesting. Yeah, Pluto does connect us to the ancestors. There's so many different, it depends on the like group of gods you work with, or if you have a group of gods that you would offer to or work with. There's different places that the ancestors could go to rest depending on the like structure, if you're in a structure of spirits, or like if you're in a pantheon, or if you're in a god house. So if we're looking at the Pluto, like the pantheon, the group that Pluto is a part of, then the underworld is where the ancestors go to rest. That's a part of where the ancestors go to rest. So I'm not as familiar with that pantheon or with that house of gods and their like places of rest and how death is involved in their practices. Although recently, Spirit's been having me study up a lot more about the spirits of like the planetary structures. So I may have more information on that soon enough. Also, somebody else just sent through for a reading in order. I see you. Beautiful. So it connects to the ancestors and Pluto related. No thorn. No thorn with the ancestors. No thorn. No thorn. No thorn. Have you experienced? That reminded me, I didn't take my vitamins today. Go take your vitamins. Go do it. No thorn. Have you been? How do I say this? Like in relationships with ancestors where there have been thorns? Because okay, okay. You're going through a death period. Well, you're going through a death period. Has someone, I don't want to ask that question. It's not my business. Let me rest. Let me rest with these. Hold on. Hold on. There's enough cards here. There's enough information. I just got to sift through it. Hold on. Oh, wow. Is there something you're closing out right now? Like, are you aware? This is for Shauna. Are you aware that you're in a death period? Are you aware that you're closing out cycles? Even if you don't really know what they are you aware that you're in a death period? Are you aware that you're like closing things out? Because that's going to change the reading. Okay, beautiful. You're closing things out so that fate can ground. You're closing things out so that fate can ground. This is what I see. This is what I see. Hold on. Let me drink. Let me. There's a part of me that wants this to come through really, really quickly. But then there's like the mothers around me are like the weight of it. What I see is like, if you've been on a path like this, if this is your line in time, here you go. Got a line. There's all these things that have been crossing where you are, and they keep getting, it's like it'll come to you and then you nod it off and you're like, okay, I'm done with that forever. I don't have to ever deal with that again. Another one, I'll nod it off. I'm done with it forever. I don't have to deal with it again. Another one, nod it off. I'm done with it forever. I don't have to deal with it again. You've been doing that for a while. You're going to continue to do that for a while. And it's like, what I see is eventually it's just like there's none of those sideways lines that are meeting you anymore. It's just you. So if none of those sideways lines are here, then it's just a singular line. They're back here. They've already happened. You've already done the clearing work. Then we have this. Then there's going to be a line that's meant to cross you. It's like the only crossing for a while is what I see. It's one crossing, and then somebody else crosses them, hears about you, crosses you. Something, someone. And then you're going to start to be in a period where there's like all these crossings again that are happening, where it's like people and places and gifts and spaces. So you're in the clearing out period because you're clearing out, there's ancestral magic you're clearing out. You're also making sure that the ancestral bed is not one that has thorns in your head. Thank you for that. It's like you can lay down and actually rest and it's not going to be a problem or an issue. And like clearing out the thorns of the ancestors, clearing out the thorns of where you've come from and where you've been, maybe what you've done too, depending on how that resonates with you. Clearing out, because we're, as individuals, we are also living ancestors too. True. So clearing out ancestral thorns. And then it's like a cycle is closing, the day is done, magic is clearing. I also hear this is something about cronehood. Something so good about cronehood. Cronehood. Interesting. Clearing for cronehood, clearing cronehood. Cronehood. Pluto is coming up because you got to figure out the devil. I've been on a path from mother to crone. Okay, interesting. I can feel, before we get to the devil part of this, hold on. What I was seeing with, thank you for that message for clarity too, because I didn't want to talk on it until, I didn't want to talk on it, but now that you said that, what is happening, the clearing of mother is where you're like tying the ends off. And there's going to be a period of like, just like stillness. And then things will start to cross you again. Things will start to cross you again. But in the transition, it's like once all the ends are tied, there's going to be a period where it's like, it's just you doing whatever you're doing. But that's kind of it. So, the devil. The devil's crossing you is what I hear. And if you're talking about Pluto, and like that's the god of the underworld. What do we normally attribute the devil to? The like underworld, right? No, what is it that needs to be heard about this? You're crossing the devil. Or the devil's crossing you? What are you really about to do? That's what this feels like. This feels like, how do I say this? This feels like really schemy. This feels really schemy. This feels really like, it feels very adult, mature, schemy. It's like you're doing things you're not supposed to be doing, but you don't really give two cruds anymore. You're like, oh, I don't really care. I'll be the devil in your story. I don't care. I'll be the devil in your story. I don't care. I'll be the one who's wrong. I don't care. It's like the devil is crossing you, but this is not something, how do I say? Sometimes we have devils cross us, or like the devil would cross us, and it's like a horrible thing. But this is not what you're expecting. Like when I said the devil's crossing you, that sounds like, how do I say, like bad or scary or horrible or terrible, and it like right? But that's not what I feel about this. I like there's like the expectation of like the devil's crossing you, and it's like this scary thing, but it's not what you're expecting it to be. The devil's crossing you, and it's like, don't you remember what it is to be free? Come here. Don't you remember what it is to be free? Don't you want to be on the dance floor with me? I don't get fear from the devil. Understood. Yeah, it's like I just see that it's like a beckoning call kind of. And it's part of the fate that's coming through. It's like the devil wants to cross you and you want to cross the devil too. So it's like you have work to do. I don't know what it is. I can look at it if you want me to. And you'll also figure it out when you get there. So we don't have to look at it, but we can look at it. It's kind of up to you. But I just see it's like, come here. Don't you remember? That's what I see. It's like the devil being like, come here. Don't you remember what it is to be free? Don't you remember what it is to be around me? Don't you want to go party? Don't you want to go have some fun? Aren't you tired of this? I keep wanting to cuss. Let me restrain it. We are on a live stream. Don't you remember what it is? Don't you remember what it is to be free? Don't you remember what it is? Don't you remember what it is? Don't you want to go and don't you want to go? Aren't you tired of all of this? Aren't you tired of these rules? Aren't you tired of these fools? Aren't you tired of these schools? Aren't you tired of this? Don't you want to go and have some fun? Aren't you tired of being in the light all the time? Aren't you tired of it? Aren't you tired of it? Come, let's go. Let's dance until the sun. Come, let's go. Let's dance. Let's have fun. Come and let's go. We have a new chapter to walk together. I don't feel any like it's like it's like welcome home is kind of what I feel. It's like remember what it was to be a child and to be free and to not understand the responsibility of all the whatever it is that you hold as responsibility in your life. Don't you remember that? Let's go. Let's go. It's like a beckoning call. A beckoning call. It's not a wall, it's a call. The beckoning call. Don't you remember what it is to be? Don't you remember? Don't you remember? It's very much, I just see this like, it's like a beckoning call. Come, 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 come. Come this way. Let's go together. The devil is a friend. It is not your end. An invitation. I got you. Yeah, it's like, it is a beckoning call. Come this way. And it's like something that you can hear off in the distance, and you're like, I think I like the sound of that. Let me walk towards it. And it keeps calling. So you keep walking towards it. And eventually you get to it. This is the where it's like unexpected. The unexpectedness is going to be when you finally see what the devil is. That's the unexpectedness. And you're like, this is not what I expected. This is, you're not, either you are not what I expected, or the situation or this circumstance or this person or this place or this is not what I expected. This is what was calling me. This is weird. It's fate. Of course it's weird. Weird. Our word for weird in English partially comes from weird, which is the Norse spirit. There's fate. Weird. Of course it's weird. This is weird. Of course it's weird. It's fated. It's a fated occurrence. Interesting. I feel like there's another. Let me pick these up. I feel like there's another one. Another pole card, clarity, revelation. I don't know. You got to will things directly at this time period. You got to be direct about it. You have to be direct about it. It's like exactly like that. You have to be direct about it, and it has to be snappy, like quick, snappy, direct. It has to be quick, snappy, and direct. There's no like, don't beat around the bush. Don't like whatever. Just get straight to it. Get straight to it. Whatever you're doing, you need to get straight to it. Get straight to it, because it's just not the time for that. It's not the time for going around things or like, I heard pepper stepping, like you would sprinkle pepper, and if you would like step like you would sprinkle pepper, not like that. You got to get straight to it. Hold on. The fates that are coming through are going to bring a lot of joy to you. So let's read on that. The fates that are coming through are going to bring a lot of joy to you. Something that you cannot see. You get back to your youth. You're like clearing out motherhood, going into Chrome, but you're getting back to there's like youth. Youth is coming back through. The youth of you is coming back through. The youth of you is coming back through. Oh, interesting. Well, that was a heavy set. Wands King. Somebody with a ring. Somebody with a string. Who do you want to meet? You want to meet somebody. Who do you want to meet? What is this? Somebody got you moving your feet. What is this? Are you actively in a relationship right now? Is this someone new? What is this? This is a person, though. This is a person. The Wands King. Who are you? Who are you? The Wands King. There's also everything that you created in the mother chapter is also grounding. You're like, there's like a grounding. How do I say this? Married since 2006. My second childhood. I love that. Who are you? Going through this chapter is going to have you ground. How do I say this? What I see after hearing you say what you said, married since 2006, it's like When our hormones change, our mind changes. Like our mind, not it alters. We think like when our hormones, our head is so different depending on the hormones that we have running through our body. Our head is so different. And so your hormones are changing. You're going from mother, you're going into crone, and you're gonna start to look up and be like, who is this person? Who is this person that I'm married to? Who is this person? I didn't know that about you, or like I didn't see that about you, or like I didn't have that person. Who are you? Like in the fun way, in a way that's like I get to rediscover you. That's really weird. Who are you? Who are you? You are not the person I married, and this is different. This is weird. This is weird. Okay, weird. Because I was wondering when I was reading this, I was like, is this the devil? No, not yet. That's a different level. We're not there yet. Okay. So there's like a new perspective grounding in that you're going through like it's like now that you're old you get to be young again. Now that you're old you get to be young again. That's happening for your partner too. They're now that they're older they get to be young again. They're going to start to see a new version of you also as well. Beautiful. It's like a new relationship chapter, but it's not just a chapter. It's like a happy thereafter. Thank you. Happy thereafter. And I just see you being like, who is this person? Like, this is not the person that I married. And you're so different and you're so cool. And you're so, what is going on? You have so many questions about it. That's what I feel. It's like very joyful questions. You're full of joy around it. It's like a very, very, thank you, Spirit. You're very, very joyful. You're also like, it's like curiosity. How do I say this? Curiosity is finally coming out of the closet, and you're like, not to say that you are in the closet in that sense, no, but like curiosity coming out of I see like a younger version of you like peeking out from a closet and being like, are we not playing hide and seek anymore? Like, where is everybody? What's going on? And so like this younger version of you kind of gets to come out and explore what's happening around you too. Interesting. In your completing of a cycle, there are completions. There's completions forever. There's some things that you're like. There's completions forever. This is a happily ever after chapter, or sing it high up in the rafter as a happily ever after. I was like, as long as he doesn't turn into the devil, yeah. No, that's not what I feel from that. The devil, what I see from that is more about your magic. It's like more about your magical practice and more about like, I just see you're like practicing the kinds of magic that you shouldn't be practicing. Okay. Yeah. Well, there's a bunch of narratives out there that say that we shouldn't practice magic at all. So blah, blah, blah. Let me work what I want to. Let me work what I want to. That's what I see about it is like you finally get the call of like, okay, come. It's almost like come back to the darkness. Also, come back to this kind of darkness, maybe too. Come back to this. It's like more magical base for that essence. Interesting. The endings that you're ending right now is like forever. Things that it's like a final sever. You're done. You're done. You're done. You're done. And it's building a bridge also. Transition and change. Your world's about to it's like about to be very different. 3 years from now, your world is going to be very different. 4 years from now, you're not going to recognize your life. You're going to be a wife where like you have bigger adventures at work. It's like bigger, how do I explain this? This may not be exactly what you do, but it reminds me of the older couples that you hear sometimes who are like, yeah, we lived our whole life in a house and we loved it and we raised our kids and it was beautiful. And then we decided, you know what? We're getting older. Why not? Let's just get an RV and travel around and just live like that for a while because it feels like that could be a thing for us. I don't recognize my life from 4 years ago. Understood. That's what this reminds me of. It's just like there's something that you are deciding on in the coming I don't know if it's going to be that, but it's like that's the dream. Well, then okay, there you go. I don't see things for no reason. I have to remember that. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. That's what it reminds me of. It's like, yeah, we just get to live our dream finally. We just finally get to go live our dream. We finally just get to go be out in nature with each other and like travel and whatever. That's it. We get to go do it. It's gonna, yeah. And the endings that you're ending right now are going to be forever. So if that's what you're going to do, then you're going to do that for a very long time. And this is also what I see too is like I keep hearing family. It's like it's like cycles. There's like cycles that are being ended for family through the work that you're doing that are after the cycle closes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And if fate is involved in this work, Shauna, if fate's involved in this work, that means your practice and your magic is involved. It also means there's going to be a lot of unexpected things. That's how fate is. Love you, fate. Oh, rarely ever is fate so super specific and direct. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. Okay. And I'm going to give credit where credit is due because there are times where things are very specific and very direct and it's very correct and it's very to the dot, right? Okay. Happens a lot. And also, there's a lot of things with fate where it's like, oh, that's right time, right place. Didn't think it was going to be here though. Right time, right place. Didn't think it was going to be this person. Right time, right place. Didn't think we were going to do this. Right time, right place. Didn't think. Weird. So expect there to be a lot of like direct and deliberate things that are happening. Like I said, it's time to like, be straight to it at this time frame. And also if you're straight to it, then also fate's going to be straight to it with you. And a lot of the times with how do I say, especially if you've been with like the devil thing that's going on, it's like a shadow work or like the shadow practice of things. Sometimes things can get schemy when we get dreamy, right? Sometimes things can be in the shadows and like swerving around in the darkness. But right now you need to be making decisions and being in the light, not out of fright of the darkness. No, it just needs to be done in the correct and direct. It's like you can only make this decision once, so you better get what you want, is what I hear about it. It's like you can only make this decision once, so you better get what you want. So be direct about it and be like upfront about it and be very specific and be in the correct direct energy. Yes. And then fate will treat you as such. Wow. Do you have any other questions? That's crazy. Yeah, you're welcome. Let me know if you do or don't. Either way, if you have other questions, that's crazy. That's crazy. There was somebody else who sent through for a reading. Hold on, let me go and update the list while we are sitting with that. Wow. Whoa. Oh, there's two that got sent through. Beautiful. One for A. So I'm gonna call you A unless you want me to call you by another first name. And so if you do want me to call you by another first name, you just let me know. And then for, is it Leah? I'm so sorry. I know one of those is probably wrong. Yeah. Yes. So for people, hello, hi. For people who are interested in readings, on YouTube, there's a link in the description. And for TikTok, if you go to the website that's in the bio, if you go to the menu on the website, and then you go to Astrology and Magick, and then live stream readings is under that. So we have 2 people in line right now. So beautiful. Okay, thank you. I see you over here. Beautiful. And then for is Ava gorgeous? Okay, thank you for that. So for Ava's up next. Shauna, do you feel good about closing it out? I'm gonna assume probably yes, because you said thank you, and the got it. Thank you. But if there's any other questions you have at the moment, then let me know. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. Then we'll close it out and be good and be done. Thanks so much for the support and have so much fun with your funness. That sounds great. Have so much fun with your funness. That sounds great. Okay, so let's look for Ava's then. Any information that can be provided on the chapter that you're closing come eclipse season. Aha. I've been feeling the shift and change. So good. Okay. And feel as though I'm closing something big, especially as I approach my nodal return. Oh my gosh. And it's a nodal return. That is a big one. Large changes, large closings. Dude, the lunar nodes, when they change, that's a crazy position to be in. Okay. Let me put this deck up. Do I need to put this? Let me put this deck up. Otherwise, it's going to continue to be up in the air. And we need this closed for just a second. Okay. Oh, geez. Oh, geez. Oh, geez. Oh, that was for Leia. I'm so sorry, Leia. Let me go back to Ava's. But also the opposition, understood. And clock it. I'll remember it. Thank you. Okay, so this one is for Ava. I feel, my apologies, Ava's is first. I feel so incredibly lost relationship-wise. Real rough and tough patches. Reassurance on the path. And that if this person can really provide for me and is meant for me, then they will. I'm not necessarily relationship-oriented in my life. Aha. So this person potentially existing. That stings, but I need to know the truth. I'm a Gemini sun, Aries moon, and Scorpio rising. Okay, beautiful. Well, let's look at it then. It's okay. Firstly, thank you. Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you. So good. Hey, you're welcome. So good. Yeah, my bad for reading the wrong one. My apologies. Okay, let's look at it then. Let's look at it and see. Is this the deck that we need? I feel like... No. Yes. Where is that one? Is that... Hold on. Oh. We need to sit with this one. I haven't pulled this one out in a couple live streams, actually, so... Oh, that was a loud one. Let's see. Did it flip? No. Get a grip. What do you need a grip on? Get a grip so it doesn't slip. Because you said, and that's not, how do I say? It's not get a grip like run away. That's not what I feel about it. Because I feel like when people would talk about relationships and it's, how do I say this? If someone were talking to me and they were like, get a grip on your relationship, I would see that, or get a grip. If I was talking to them about my relationship and someone was like, get a grip, I'd be like, whoa. But so it's not the get a grip in the sense of like, you're doing something wrong. That's not the feeling I get from this. Is just like, get a grip on what you want, get a grip on where you are. And then you'll be able to like grab and gravitate towards what you want. It's not get a grip. It's just like, what reality are you living in? Okay, understood. What reality are you living in? Because you said reassurance on the path. Because if you're looking at this person, you need to know the truth. If you're looking at this person, especially if you've ever been through situations in relationships that have harmed you or brought you trauma, or that have been maybe like abusive, or like it's just like not been a healthy relationship, then being in a relationship where, how do I say this? Being in any other relationship then can be a little bit scary, because like, okay, well, I've been through this thing, and this person that I trusted with my whole self and like my heart, and they did these things to me that were harming me and are not good. And so like that kind of clouds our vision and can cloud our heart around things, especially if you're still carrying it, or if it's still kind of like around you, or you're working through it. Which honestly valid, because there's things I'm still working through from like previous relationships that I've been into. We're human, you know, there's usually something that pops up at some point in time that we're working on. So it is interesting. So when it comes to where you are, because you're talking about reassurance on your path, and if the person can really provide for you, and if they're meant for you, then they will. So and you said you're also not very relationship oriented. So just one of the things, and I'm going to offer this tool to you, because this is what Spirit's been having me do recently, as someone who comes from some, harmful situations when it comes to, we're not going to get into it because this reading is not about me or for me, but some harmful situations when it comes to relationships. And also for myself, it's like when I am in a relationship, my life very much shifts and alters and changes, whereas normally I'm like pretty career focused and career oriented and like art focused and art oriented. So it is different. You're talking about not being like a very relationship like based person. not necessarily relationship oriented in my life. Yeah. So one of the things that spirit has been having me do recently, because it's ultimately up to you. Like, do you want to be with this person or do you not want to be with this person? And how do you want to kind of live in the relationship if you're going to be in it? So one of the things that spirit's been having me do is just be more aware, being aware of how, and I'm going to speak on it from a personal perspective and then sit in application as you might need to, or like in resonation as you might need to. Spirit's been having me sit in more awareness. So it's like, what about this relationship makes me uncomfortable? Okay. Trusting this person makes me uncomfortable. Okay, well, why does trusting this person make you uncomfortable? Because in other relationships, these other things have happened and my trust has been betrayed. Okay, well, it makes sense. Have they shown you, be more aware? Has this person, now that you're aware of the shadow, for myself, look at what's actually happening. Have they given you any reason not to be a trustworthy person? Well, no. Have they given you foundational steps of you can actually trust them? Yeah. Okay, well, then you can see that it's actually a safe place and it's actually something that you can interact with in a safe way. Is it something now that you would want to interact with? Do you want to be uncomfortable? Do you want to grow into that person? Do you want to have the ability to be able to trust another person who actually is trustworthy? Okay, yeah, I do want to do that. Okay, so then when it comes up in your space, to me, when it comes up in your space, then sit with it and understand kind of like, that's true. This is how I would speak to myself and how I have conversations with spirit around this stuff. So when it comes up in your space, then just sit and be aware, like I give myself permission to be uncomfortable and that's all right. And kind of like the sitting and reassuring of myself in that moment in time. Like, I understand why you would be uncomfortable. Is there anything that maybe you would need to talk about? Or do you have anything you need to work through? Normally I would say, no, I just need to kind of exist in it and understand what it feels like to be trusting of someone. But there might be some things every once in a while that I would need to work through. So it just kind of depends on the situation. So that would be the tool that I offer to you, which sounds so simple, just be more aware, but it does take like effort and work. Because especially if you're not relationship oriented in your life, it's like, what do you even need to be aware of? And like, how is the awareness even going to be in application? So if you're looking at kind of, because what did you say? You said, let me go back. Let me reorient myself. You said, this person potentially existing stings, but I need the truth. So then look at what the truth is. This is how do I say this? What this feels like on a spiritual perspective is, because it doesn't feel like I'm supposed to right now sit and read cards to be like, this is the truth of this person. And then it doesn't feel like I'm supposed to do that. I don't normally sit and read on people without their consent, unless it's like a really dangerous situation and they've already done harm to another person. That's a different story. But it doesn't feel like I'm supposed to sit and like read. I don't know if that's happened in your relationship. Let me be more clear. And I'm being kind of asked to like not read on that in the energy, not read on them. So the tool being offered is like, it feels like it's from a spiritual standpoint, it feels like it's time to sit with this person. Oh, they're exiting out of your life. Okay. They're exiting out of your life. Let me reread this. Reassurance on my path that if this person really can provide for me, is meant for me, then they will. Sorry, the way that you worded this made it seem like it was like reassurance of the relationship that you're in and not, oh, so this person potentially exiting stings. Okay, I did read that wrong. I'm so sorry. I'm not necessarily. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to ramble. And let spirit take over where you need to. Understood. I feel like it's gonna be really this is just something a lot of the times when I'm reading for people, just being aware of the energy and the kind of like patterns I see. And there's been several times where I've either read something wrong or I've had to like go back over and reread it. And I'm normally not like that. So it might be helpful to return to what's your truth. Like, it's like a return of your words, a return of your words, a return of your, maybe you just need to sit and talk about it. Maybe not necessarily to me, but like, let me look at the cards. Maybe you just need to sit and talk about it. What is the, I need to know the truth. Hold on. Okay. You're on a, oh goodness. Okay, Spirit. You're on a path that's going to require some sacrifices. This is like years long. This is like a years long path of your magical, if you really want to be on the path of spirit, if you're like really looking to be on the path of spirit and to be a practitioner and to be in the mysticism and to be in the magic and to understand yourself and to understand your power and to work with your gifts, the path that you're on is going to require that you guard. It's like being the guardian of yourself and being able to guard those mysteries and being able to guard like who you are and what you are and being able to guard those truths. Sometimes we have to make sacrifices on the spiritual path that in the physical just don't make any sense. I have no other way to explain that. They just don't make sense. They just don't make sense. They just don't make sense. They just do not make sense. This might make me cry, actually. This might make me cry. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, if we need to cry about it, then I guess I'll cry about it. That's fine. So, the example that's coming into my mind that I want to share with you, because I feel like it's important. Because if you have a person that's potentially exiting your life and it hurts because you were like, I need to know the truth. Okay. So, I want to share a story with you that at the time, I did not understand where I was. This is years ago. This is like 2021. My life, when I start, do I need to give that context? Not really. Okay. There's a time period in my life where I was in probably the healthiest relationship, the healthiest partnership that I had ever been in. Ever, ever, ever up until that point in my life. And I just kind of woke up one day and I was like, I don't need to be with this person anymore. Out of nowhere. And I was like, why do I feel like that? What is going on? Like, this person has been like one of the most like helpful, friendly, loving, trusting, kind, caring people that I've ever been with. And like, I actually want to be with them. So why is my spirit telling me, why is it in my spirit? Not like the highest spirit, not like that, but like, like in here, why is my spirit saying to me, like, this is something I need to let go of? I didn't understand it at the time. I didn't understand. But had I continued to hold that person's hand and walk through life with them, there are foundational, fundamental, spiritual sacrifices, learnings, offerings, wisdoms that I would not ever have been able to experience, ever, ever. No way would I have walked through those different doorways of wisdoms and mysticism and like so much power offered to me through those experiences that I would not be able to go back to younger version of me who was in that relationship and explain to her that that was coming up. There's no way that I could have prepared her for what was to come. Simultaneously, though, I hold no ill will against that person. They hold no ill will against me. There's like we have a commonality still. We have a commonality of like, he understands that I had to let go because I'm in the spirit. Golly, it does make me want to cry. He understands that. And that's like a real loving space, He doesn't carry the responsibilities of spirit. And so if you are someone who is on a path, so let's bring it back for a second. If you're someone who's on a path of carrying the mysticism and carrying your practice and carrying that for yourself, and carrying that. Sometimes we're asked to make sacrifices that don't make any sense. And sometimes spirit will pull people out of our lives because they don't need to be there anymore. And it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense. It doesn't make any sense until years later. And I mean years. I mean, still, there's some things I've been through similar to this where I'm like waiting on the answer. It will be there when I need to see it. So it's like, why would it be happening? You know, why is it? Sometimes we don't have the answer for a while. And it just feels like this feels like a moment looking at what spirit is showing me. Sometimes we go through things where we sacrifice relationships or jobs or, you know, people or whatever it is, where we sacrifice things and it just doesn't make any sense, where we sacrifice the relationship and it doesn't make any sense, or spirit pulls things out and it doesn't make any sense, and you're like, spirit, why is this happening? Why are you making me go through this? Why is this? And that is part of the responsibility of being in a practice, because if you weren't in a practice and you didn't have those gifts, and you didn't, even some people who have gifts don't like sit in a practice with them, you know. So like if you're really someone who cares about that, because the other thing I hear is like, you ask for some things, you ask for something, you ask for your life to be maybe a specific way, or like I also heard manifesting girly, or like there's like manifesting girly is like the like I heard like it's like a story trope. You're like the manifesting girly, or like you're manifesting something, or like, you know, like doing work to receive some things, doing work in the spirit so that your life can look a certain way. And sometimes we have to let go of people. Sometimes we have to, how do I say this? It's not that we have to let go of them. But when it comes to those, maybe what you're asking for is like, you have to close this door. Maybe this door has to close, and you're not going to know for a while why. Maybe you're not going to know for a while why. And sometimes if we're going to be the guardians of mysteries, we have to be able to be guarded from mysteries also. If we're going to be the guardians of mysteries, I have these secrets, I have these wisdoms, and I have these mysteries. We also sometimes have to be kept out of what the mystery is. We have to be kept out of what the secret is, you know. The reciprocity and the law of mirrors is a thing for a reason. So if you're going to be the guardian of mysteries and the guardian of secrets and the guardian of power, then sometimes power and secrets and mystery have to push you out. And in that, because then you can also, if they're going to push you out, that means you can push other people out, and others, you know, out of what it is that you hold, that it allows you the power of that. Again, the law of the mirroring. So if you're going through this right now and you're feeling like, you know, why is this happening, or why is this exiting my life? And like that you said, reassurance on your path. If you really know within yourself that there are things that you have asked for that have not come into fruition yet. There are things that you asked for that have not yet made it to your plate in front of you, that have not yet become really actually physical, actualized in your life. If you know that that has not happened, then that means sacrifices still need to be made so that they can show up. And that sometimes the sacrifices don't make sense. Sometimes the sacrifices don't make sense. They don't make sense. And it's also sometimes those sacrifices, I know for me, there's been plenty of times, and I mean more than I would probably ever share with the internet, plenty of times where I've looked up in the sky, been crying, and been like, why am I going through this right now? Why would you put me through this? Why would you put me through this? What did I ask for that was so important that you're making me go through this? Why would you make me go through this? Why would you force me to? Why would you do this to me? Why would I do this to myself? Why would I ask for things that would put me through that? I don't know. I don't know. Wasn't thinking about the fact that there was consequences when I was asking for what I was asking for. I wasn't thinking about the fact that I was going to have to give up a whole bunch of stuff so that I could have what I wanted. I wasn't thinking about that. I was a kid and I said, yeah, I really want to live my dream. Yeah, I really want to do those things. Yeah, I really want to be that. Okay, little me, I hear you. I hear you, you know? Okay, little me, I understand. Okay, little me, I'm going to honor you then. That's how I had to look at it. I've been trying to not be in self-shame or self-deprecate or being stuck in whys because I know it's there. Sometimes you gotta do it. Sometimes, sometimes you got to do it. It's okay to sit in it. Always better, a reason why things are happening. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to sit in it. It's okay to sit in it. Sometimes we have to sit in it. Sometimes we have to sit in the muck. Sometimes we have to sit in it. Sometimes we have to sit in it, and we have to sit in it and understand it and make it a friend and be like, listen, this sucks. Sometimes it doesn't stop being horrible until you can sit and be like, wow, this is really horrible. This is really horrible. This is not what I want. And then for me, at least, this is how it happens for me. The moment that I kind of like give up control of like not going and visiting those like kind of places, those are the moments where if I give up control and I sit in it and I can cry about it and I can be angry about it and I can yell at the sky and be like, why is this happening? Ah! The moment I can do that is usually the moment where I'm like, oh, I get it now. This is what I need to go do. I like, in the middle of my tears, I'm like, there's the idea. That's what I've been waiting for. There's the clarity. There's the truth. There's the answer. It's like this. Is that cruel? I don't know. I was going to say that's like a cruel, like pattern. I don't know if that's, I don't know if I would call it that, but sometimes you got to sit in it. So if you need to go sit in it, you say, because what did you say again? Trying not to be in the self-shame. And sometimes with shame, it's interesting you bring up shame. Shame is a spirit that's been around recently for me to learn from. Sometimes with shame, I'm kind of going to go on a little bit of a ramble with this one. Shame, a lot of the times, is with blame. So like if we're blaming ourselves or someone else has blamed us for something, shame can pop up and be around. Actually, I just realized it's dark out. Let me go close my curtains because I don't like them being open when it's dark out. And I'll be right back. Please and thank you for the patience. Please and thank you for the patience. Okay. Yeah. So shame. One of the fundamentals with shame is, for me at least, a lot of the times it brings up blame. So like if somebody has blamed you for something, or I guess I just know where I've gone wrong and what I can do to fix things, self-awareness. And I want to. Understood. Where I've gone wrong. You know what? Accountability and responsibility are a big thing. It feels like, you know what it feels like? Me coming back and sitting down. I have like another clarity that just kind of came over me for this. It feels like this is like there's some sort of bigger lesson. I don't know what it is. I'm not the one who's supposed to. It's like one of those things that only you can walk through, So I don't know what it is. But it feels like there's a bigger lesson. It feels like there's a bigger, not to put stress on it. There's just every once in a while, because I'm looking at my spirit's asking me in this reading to kind of reflect on different periods in my life or things that I've been through and kind of share them. Which sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm asked to do that. So it feels like for now, that's what I'll sit in. And when I was in that period of like, why is this happening? Why is it going? Let me run it back. Hold on. The bigger lessons. Sometimes we don't figure those out also for a time period. It just feels like there's something bigger that you're going through and you're just in the middle of it. And this just happens to be a part of that process, as much as it might suck, as much as it is horrible, terrible. One of the things that I want to offer to you as well is that however it is that you choose, because this is something that from the perspective that I can see this from is like, this is a very spiritual thing that's happening. This is a very spiritual thing that's happening. You're in the middle of this very, very spiritual process that maybe doesn't make a lot of sense. There's a very, very spiritual procession going on, and there is eventually going to be the end of a lesson. But right now, you're like in the middle of it. So you, for whatever reason, are being asked to kind of carry the weight of it and walk through it, understand some things, shed some things, clear some things, revere some things, honor yourself in the process, and get real. Because you said you want the truth, so get really truthful and honest about like where you've been, who you've been, what you've done, who you've become, what you've spun. Good, bad is subjective. So that's totally up to you with how you would like to like sit with the directive of that. And it does feel like there's going to be like a bigger conclusion. And a bigger conclusion that's not of illusion of like how how and why and where and when. No, it's like a very clear answer, a very clear answer. And on the other side, this is also one of those chapters, it feels like, where you get to the other side of it and like you're untouchable now in that area of life. I don't know what it is that you ask. There's a lot about you and your world that I can't see, and spirit keeps asking me to sit with myself and kind of share from perspective. So hopefully what I am sharing is of help. But it does feel like there's going to be some kind of conclusionary point where it's like, now I've been fortified in this area of my life. Nobody can touch me. I don't have any gaps. I don't have any places where people can get through and break my barriers. It's like, I just know who I am in this area of my life. I've been through a season that has shaken me and broken me breaking me, shaken me and breaking me and broken me down. And I have now been through that season, and it is over. Somewhere there in the future, it is over now, and I can look back and I have clarity on why everything needed to happen and what the profit and the fruition actually is. And it's going to be more than what you are expecting to receive. It's going to be more than likely, as long as you walk through and you're in truth to yourself, then it's going to be more than what you were maybe originally like receiving or originally wanting, or like in originality of your wish, or like why you're going through this. There is going to be a conclusion. You're just in the middle of it right now. Sometimes we just got to walk through things and we got to learn things, and also how you decide to kind of move through it. It'll change the ride a little bit, it'll change kind of like, what is it that you're learning about now? Or sometimes spirit will put us in the middle of a path and have some hard thing going on in our life, just so that spirit can see kind of like, how are you going to pick it up? What are you going to do with it? Who are you going to become? Because we put you in this hard situation. So one of the things I used to say when I was going through a really hard chapter in my life is that we don't get to see who a person is until their back is up against a wall. We don't get to see who a person really is until they're in maybe some kind of danger or some kind of like resistance, or there's some kind of opposition. We don't really get to see like we get to see true natures of people in other ways, but there's a true nature that comes out that's very hidden if we don't have a person in that kind of situation. And that was a hard time in my life as well, going through a bunch of like having my back up against the wall, having to figure things out kind of at a very like moment's notice. Another chapter for another time for conversation. But for what it feels like you're going through is like, it feels like you're just in this situation because you asked for something. Spirit's having you walk through this to figure out what it is that actually needs to be delivered. And because you're in the middle of it, you're confused, and however it is that you're feeling confused, not feeling good about it, the like icky yucky stuff that could be coming up. So being in the awareness of that, now it's time to choose. When we get, at least that's how I would handle this from my perspective. I'm going to give you my personal, I'm trying to still walk through with grace and kindness despite it all, my wrongs and me wronged. And golly, and that is the hardest thing to do. That is the hardest thing to do. It 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 is the hardest thing to do. If you are in the middle of something that sucks and is hard, choosing to love, I know I have it in me to fix things to better myself, for me and another. You can do it then. You can do it. You can do it. Consider where you are. Consider what you need to do. Have room around you, space around you. It's like, feed the fire is what I hear. The fire that keeps you alive, the fire that makes it easier to love yourself. However it is that needs to be done for you and in your life, make sure that you're doing that, because then things will be a little bit easier internally. Things will be like, it's like a little bit of reprieve. Can I just get a little bit? So if you have practices that you know are really good for you, if you have practices or spirits that you will offer to that you know are going to be able to come through and help you with what it is that's going on, even if that help is just presence and they're just there to like offer presence and space to you, however it is that you would do that. Because like I said, being in the middle of something and like making decisions to figure out how to get out of it and then having a conclusionary point at the end, it's not an illusion. There is a conclusion, and then there's like, it's done. So right now, with the fact that this is like the process of spinning and the process of weaving and allowing yourself to be the kind person in the middle of blindness, oh, I will tell you that what I have learned is that if you are able to be the kind person in the middle of blindness, there are normally more rewards for you on the other end of things that are kind to you also. Normally, if you are kind and you are blind, then there is going to be not only kindness and kindness when blindness is around that is returned to you. So like if another person may not use blindness against you is what I mean by that, in a cruel way. So you can be kind when things are blind and you are blind, or another person is blind, or there's blindness, you don't know the whole truth, you don't know really what's going on. If you're kind in the middle of it, then when you're on the other side of it, then normally there's more kindness that is then returned to you as well, because then you're not blind and it's like, wow, for myself again, I'm looking at situations that I've been in where I chose to be kind and I was blind, and now I'm on the other side of it and I'm seeing the truth. Had spirit let me see what was really going on, no way would I have been kind. Absolutely no way would I have been kind. But I was blind, so I was like, I don't know. I don't know. So yes, I will choose love. I don't know. So yes, I will be kind. And now being on the other side of things, there's some people who should have gotten something other than what I gave to them, maybe, but maybe not, because you know what? If we give kindness and blindness, that means we start new cycles of kindness. And one of the things also that I'll say about this might be the final thing I say, and then we can check for questions if you have any. One of the other things I'll say is that in the middle of being in those situations where people were being cruel, it just didn't make any sense. I was like, why is this happening? Why am I around this kind of person? Why is this happening to me? Whatever. Okay, whatever the situation was. When I was in the middle of those, let me run it back. Hold on. Oh, yeah. I know that because I did this there's a video I put up on YouTube recently about how to curse. And at the end, it's a long video. At the very end, I talk about this. My form of cursing is usually very different than other people's form. Other people, I don't know. The way that we curse is dependent upon who we are as practitioners, and that's valid. So the way that I curse, let me just talk about myself, not talk about other people. No need to compare, and that's all right. Okay, so the way that I curse a lot of the times, not all the time, but pretty much every single time, I know that if I've been in a situation where I've been kind to a person and I have loved them even when I didn't know their true intentions, even when their true intentions were revealed after the fact, and I'm no longer around them, and it turns out they were actually even way more cruel than I thought. But I was kind and loving and caring in the middle of it, because that's just who I am as a person and who I decided to be at the time. When you get to the other side of it, okay, well, for me, how I would curse a person who would have done me wrong in that situation once I understand the full truth. Okay, well, may that person be elevated into a position of love where they no longer are able to have those cruel intentions. Do you know how hard they're going to have to work to be able to sit in a position of love and elevation, to be able to no longer have those cruel intentions sitting in their heart? Do you know how much they're going to have to go through with loss? You know how much they're going to have to face within themselves? You know how much courage and bravery they're going to have to muster up? I do, because I know what it's like to be down in the trenches and to feel things about people that I don't really want to feel and choose to love anyways. I understand what it's like to do that. So that's the other thing I'll say about it. Not only do you get to decide who you are as a practitioner throughout the process, you also get to decide if people are doing you wrong and there's justice. Thank you, Justice. Love you, Justice, and Mother Justice. Love you both. There's people doing you wrong, and maybe you don't understand the full picture. You don't understand really the full situation or the full capacity, the full impact, because you just are not supposed to understand it right now, but you'll understand it maybe eventually. Again, conclusion, not illusion, in the future. So having there be that conclusionary point, how you handle things now is how the other person, this is the law of forced exchange. Especially if you're in a relationship with someone and you're having more of like physical intimacy, because that's what you made this relationship sound like. That's a law of forced exchange. So how you handle this person is how they're going to have to learn to handle the outcome of the situation. So if you move in love and you're kind and you're caring, and if they really truly have any sort of cruelty, I don't know if that's true because I can't see it. I'm not supposed to see it. So I'll just leave it be. However it is that they're moving, if you also too, because you said how you've been wronged and how you've wronged other people. So it's like if you're taking accountability and responsibility, and then there's a person around you who's deciding not to do that, they're gonna have to do it eventually anyways, because you're doing it. Because if you're sharing your body with another person, then the law of forced exchange becomes far more applicable. So, however it is you walk through, also understand that is feeding the justice that will be called upon people who either are wronging you or have wronged you once you are at the end of this transitionary space where there's confusion and other things going on. So that's another thing to just keep in mind while you're in this space of blindness that you're in right now. And also, if you want to receive it, may you be able to leave this sort of like non-conclusionary place and space in the way that you need to, because being in something that's confusing and hard like that is not fun. So yeah. Are you interested in asking any follow-up questions? Is there any other information? Because there's a lot about spirit has me also very blinded in this reading. There's a lot that I can't see. So if there's any other questions that you have for me, please let me know, because that's a hard thing to go through. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I'm gonna, while we wait for Ava, I'm gonna update the list also. Because I think there was another one that came through. Yeah. So Leia is up after Ava, and then it's Erica after that. So just for clarity for everyone who's here. But yeah, Ava, let me know. You might be typing, honestly. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions about it. I can't give you the specific clarity on the situation because sometimes we just got to walk through it. But it's so strong with them. And again, trying to walk with grace and love. You'll get through it. You'll get through it. Sometimes we just got to go through things. Sometimes we just got to go through things. Love you. Sometimes we just got to go through things. I wish sometimes that wasn't the case, but then also I look at the clarity on the other side and I'm like, do I really wish that was not the case? Because everything I've been through that really hurt me and really was hard paid for more than I was expecting. That's the interesting thing about that kind of, how do I say? That's the interesting thing about unexpected prices is they bring unexpected rewards. Unexpected prices bring unexpected rewards. So if you're paying an unexpected price, time, energy, money, emotions, and then there's going to be an unexpected reward somewhere. I don't know where, but yeah, I value everything you said. It's kind of what I've been telling myself in a way, and the curse makes. I have a feeling there's another message. We'll let it rest. Yeah, coming through. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. You'll make it through, though. You'll make it through. For Elizabeth, hello. If you go to the website in the bio, and then you go to the menu, and then you go to Astrology and Magick, there's live stream readings under that. Yeah. So much sense, because I just hope they grow and face what they need to match me. And you know what? Yeah, you're welcome. You know what? I honestly... Let me prepare myself. That's what those situations for me were. I would ask for things, and then Spirit would hand me something really hard to walk through. Let me prepare myself then. Because if you're going to have something that you really want, if it's like the perfect kind of relationship that you want, or it's like the perfect kind of lifestyle, or I don't know exactly what it is that you ask for, again, like the manifesting girly, or like whatever it is that you were like wanting on the other side. Sometimes you ask for things, you activate something, and then you just kind of have to ride through it. Let me prepare myself. That's what happened. Every single time that I would like start a practice, like do a working, start a practice, that sort of space where I would activate something, then Spirit would put the shadow right in my face, like really, really loudly. okay, well, you've got to deal with this first. You got to heal this first. You've got to look at this first. You have to understand yourself in the darkness first because it has to root in something. It has to be rooted, like the sprouts. I don't know if you were hearing me showing the sprouts of the little apple trees earlier, but like a sprout, the sprout has got to go down into the dirt and then it has enough force to pop out of the ground. So it has to be able to be rooted in something. And what it's rooted in will show you how to nourish what is growing. But also it's hard. You gotta force down into the dirt. You gotta put a force down into the okay, well, the right in my face then? Right in my face, spirit? Every single time you're gonna put it right in my face? Right in my face? You're gonna put it right in my face? Okay, okay, well then let me just work with it then because I don't apparently have any other way to go through it. That's what spirit has me go through at least. Golly. Golly. Make you be able to get out of it how you need to. It'll be good. And you know what? I'll say this also as someone who's been through a lot of those moments, like again, more than I would like to recount on the internet, probably ever. Uh, Being on the other side of it, I'm finally able to laugh about it now. I'm finally able to laugh about it now. That's a good. So when you reach the conclusion, I hope you're able to laugh about it too. I hope when you reach the conclusion, you're able to look behind you at whatever you've been through and you're able to laugh about it and be like, wow, I guess I did have to go through that. It was really horrible at the time, but you know what? It's not horrible anymore. I hope you get to that point. I hope that you're able to turn around and laugh about it. Yeah. And I'll let it rest there. You're gonna get through. I keep saying I'll let it rest, and then there's still things I want to keep saying. You'll get through. It is a lesson of justice, though. You can start studying justice as well if you wanted to, if you're not already, or however. Just think about it, the fundamentals of it, the learnings of it. Yeah, cool. Okay, so up next we have Leia. So I know you're sitting over there. Hello, hello. So good, so good, so good. Ironically, not my reading, but needed this today after the last few days. Understood. Okay, so let's see. Any other information that can be provided on the chapter that I'm closing? Come eclipse season, I've been feeling this shift and change, feeling I'm closing something big, especially as I approach the nodal opposition in June. Are your nodes, you're already in nodal opposition then? You're talking about like the exactness of your nodal opposition? That's crazy. Nodal opposition. Going through my nodal opposition, flip my whole entire world around and then like full circle. We're moving in a new direction, but it's like the same direction, but it's not the same direction, but it is, and it's way bigger. Okay. 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 Yeah, sure. So, sure. Okay. So, yeah. So, okay, cool. So let's talk about it. Let me find what deck do we need to sit with? Yes, I got the exacts. Good. Good for you. Good for you. What deck do we need to sit with? Any information that can be provided on the chapter I'm closing. All right, I need this other deck over here. Hold on. You're not going back. 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 Everything that's happening in your nodal opposition, you're not going back. You're not going back. You are not going back. You're not going back. I don't know if you heard that. The zoom zoom. You're going on new vroom vroom. New zoom zoom. You're not going back. Yeah, you're not going back. You're not going back. You're not going back. So what is it that you need to be done with? If you're not going back to it, what is it that you need to be done with? I'm going to sit and channel for this one, actually. I feel like I need to and not look at the cards. Saturn's in Pisces right now, which means it's going to be with your South Node. Neptune is in Pisces right now, which means it's also with your South Node. Hmm. There's gonna be a lot of change. There's gonna be a lot of change. There's gonna be a lot. There's gonna be a lot. The crow is here. Love you, crow. There's gonna be a lot of change. Like a lot. More than you expect, more than you can direct. You have to give up control of trying because what did you ask about? What are you closing? You are not gonna know. You can't know. Think about your entire previous 9 years. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of that is a lot. That's a lot of happening. There's a lot of things going on. The nodal opposition is in the middle of the transition of that 18-year cycle. How could you know everything? How could you have the clarity and the awareness? We're human. We can only do so much. How could you have the clarity and the awareness of everything that you would need to close in the next year and a half? Call me crazy, but that might be a little bit too much. So if you just walk through it, like you're not gonna know. You're not supposed to know either. I'll say that. You're not gonna know and you're not supposed to know until you get to the end of it. Until you get to the end of it. You could look at the exact for sure, and also the lunar nodes, it's the moon, they're not that exact a lot of the times. So, there's a lot to be unpacked, there's a lot to be cleared, and then when you get to the other side of it, then you're able to look back, which, from perspective, my lunar node opposition just switched position into no longer being in the opposition. So I'm in like the fresh out of it perspectives, and we're in the eclipse season that kind of flips it around. So, one thing I'll say about that is that where I was a year and a half ago, not where I thought I was going to be in my life. And where I am now is definitely not where I thought I was going to be a year and a half ago. But it makes more sense to me that I'm here where I am a year and a half after, like later, out fresh out of that opposition. I'm where I need to be. I'm where I asked to be. But the only way for me to get here was to walk through the darkness of the opposition, was to walk through the kind of like the different position of the opposition. Because the lunar node opposition, the south node is with the north node, and the north node is with the south node. So, like everything that you're really good at on the earth, hold on, let's talk about the opposition. The north node is the spiritual purpose that's way high up in the sky. So, when it meets the south node in your chart, then you have a spiritual purpose that's grounding. The south node, when it reaches the north node in your chart, because the south node's about doing easy earthly skills. So it reaches the north node in your chart, and it's like, oh, everything I've been doing on the earth has a new spiritual practice to it also. How are you supposed to be able to comprehend all of that? How are you supposed to be able to comprehend? You're not supposed to be able to comprehend all of that. So this is a time we're just taking it. Yes, have plans. Yes, understand your future. Yes, and you're not supposed to understand it. Yes, and there's no way you could comprehend all of it. Yes, and I have a feeling this shift to change. Oh, let me read your note again. Hold on. I have a feeling this shift and change can feel as though I'm closing something big. Yeah, you are. Of course you are. Hello. Of course. This is a huge change. This is a huge shift. It's going to be a year and a half of you lifting every gift you've ever lifted and figuring out, do I still want this thing? Do I still want this? Do I still need this to come with me? Do I still want this? Hey, I remember this dream from whenever ago. Do I still need this to come with me? I've lifted it now. How is it going to come with me? And then it's going to shift back and forth for a year and a half. Okay, I need this part of it, but I don't need this part of it. I need this part of it, but I don't need this part of it. While simultaneously, you picked up another one and you're looking at this. This one's still cycling over here, but you're looking at this one. You're saying, I think, does it relate to this one? I don't know. I can't. Let me work with it a little bit more. Okay, I think let me go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Think about how many times in your life you have looked at your life and said, I want to go in this direction. I want to go in this direction in the previous 9 years. Okay. I want to go in this direction. I want to go in this direction. I want to go in this direction. I want to go. How many times have you said that? I have a dream. I have this dream and this dream and this dream and this dream. I have this one and this one and this one. Everything comes under review. Everything comes it's supposed to overwhelm you a little bit. It's supposed to be a little overwhelming. It's supposed to be a little bit like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know exactly what I'm doing at the same time. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know exactly what I'm doing at the same time. I'm gonna say it again. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea, but I know exactly what I'm doing at the same time. So you really, really, it's like a big, so many, so many. Yeah, so many, so many. So many different directions. So many. So they all come under review. They all come under review. And it's like, it's a big clearing chapter while simultaneously it's a big revering chapter. Okay, well, this dream doesn't have to be right now. I have another 9 years to make sure I can create that. That's the cycle that I'm in right now. So this is what's really happening. You know how full moons work, and it's like the full moon comes up, it illuminates stuff, and then we're like, whoa, I didn't realize there was a mess over there. Let me go clean that up. Oop. Didn't realize there was a mess over there. Let me go clean it up really quick. So there's where like the clearing of the full moons come in the opposition, the nodal opposition. That's the full moon of the 18-year cycle. So you're in a full moon year. Interesting. So you're in a full moon year, and so having there be. Let me look at the cards now. Let me look at the cards now. Let's look at the journey. Now that we have the concept and the fundamentals, let's look at the journey. Okay. Mother's grounding that you cannot see. A thorn? Hold on. A thorn, but where and why and how? You understand it's going to be a mountain to climb. So take your time. It's not going to be over tomorrow. It's not going to be over tomorrow. You have time. You have a year and a half. You have time. You have time to figure it out. You have time to figure it out. You have time to understand it. You understand it's a mountain to climb. So climb the mountain and take your time. You're not going to rush yourself on a hike, are you? No. If you get altitude sickness and you need to take a break, you're going to sit down and you're going to drink water and you're going to eat. You're probably going to sleep and you're going to rest. And you're going to make sure your body's not stressed. Okay, now I can move on again. You got to be kind to yourself because you're climbing a mountain. A couple other things. Oh, yeah. Practice. Practice, 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 practice. This is not practice makes perfect. This is practice creates your future. Practice. Work your art, work your weavings. Magic, practice, 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 practice. There's been such a shift in my motherhood as well. Beautiful. Aha. Haha. So good. Practice. Practice, 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 practice. Every time you feel like, because what did I say earlier? I'm going to say it again. When the North Node is the spiritual purpose, it's grounding on the earth with the South Node. So your spiritual purpose now has a way to actually be here in the physical. Crazy. Thanks, Spirit. And then the South Node, which is easy on the earth, is up in the sky, getting a new spiritual alignment, elevation, understanding. Crazy. So practice. The nodal oppositions are very, very, very fundamental to one's directionary alterations of practices for the next coming 9 years until the cycle closes. And then we have the return, and that's the big closing of the cycle of the spiritual purpose returning to the sky and the earthly skills returning to the earth. Beautiful. So, and that spiritual purpose that you're going to be receiving in this year and a half period of what you're normally doing on the earth is going to ground again on the return. So here we are in the middle. Then you're in the opposition phase. So practice, 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 because you're going to need it. Because you're going to need it. You're going to need it. What you're practicing right now, you're going to look back 4.5 years. If you practice, and you practice and you practice and you practice and you practice, filled up fuller than you think it might need to be. You're going to look back 4.5, 5 years from now, and you're going to be like, thank God I did that. Thank God I did that. Thank God I was practicing. Oh my God. Thank God I did that. Thank the gods. Thank God. Thank highest, whoever. Okay. Thank me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank yourself. That's why I say when I say thank me, thank as in, thank yourself. Clarity. Thank you for doing the work of practice. Thank you for practicing, because there's going to be things that start to happen because the quarter moon, like first quarter, third quarter, that's about 4.5, 5 years in between, from the opposition phase point. So you're going to look back and be like, I can't believe that what I did then is grounding this now in 4.5, 5 years. I can't believe what I did then is grounding. Thank God I practiced. Practice. Make sure you're practicing. Make sure you're making time for your practice. Make sure you're making time for your art, for your craft. Make sure you're making time for your art and your craft. Make sure having a craft is like a raft. If we are out at sea and we are doing what we are swimming, there's the ocean, beautiful, okay? Having a craft is like a raft. You're going to be up. You're not going to be in the water. You're going to be up on the top of the water. Having a craft is like a raft. Craft then. Practice. Craft. You have to craft. You could choose not to, okay? And it's also going to be really helpful if you craft. Craft. Not everything is meant to be joyful in this season for you, which is something I have the feeling that you're not used to. It's not that you've not been through hard things, or it's not that you're not used to like dealing with life, because I don't want to diminish the fact that you have skills as a human. That's not what I'm trying to do with this. No. It's like there's spiritual lessons on the path that you're on in the opposition that are totally and completely new and have nothing to do with joy. Like a lot of the times you're far enough into, okay, thank you, Spirit. You're like deep enough, far enough into your spiritual practice that Spirit's like, okay, well, hand them the stuff that isn't just like all light, fairies, and fun. Hand them the stuff that isn't all light, fairies, and fun and see if they can get the work done. Oh, you got the homework done? You didn't want to do it either? Okay, cool. I see you doing that. Thanks for the work then. Spirit's going to remember that. You're going to get handed stuff in this season where you're like, I don't want to do this, man. I don't want to pick this up. I don't want to, this is somebody else's dirty sock. I don't want to touch that. Ugh. I don't want to do that. I don't want to clear. It's not my work, but it got put on your plate for a reason. So it's like this is a different spiritual season for you. This nodal opposition time. It's a spiritual season that you're not accustomed to or you're not used to. Like your practice is going to be talking about like practice. Your practice is going to be very different. It's going to be really different. Somebody else is picking up somebody else's dirty sock. This is not my dirty sock. This is somebody else's dirty sock. That's gross. That's just an example. I don't know if that's actually a thing that is going to cross your path or not, but this is not mine. This is somebody else's. Why am I even called to do this work? Like, why has this even been put on me right now? This is not joy. This is not fun. This is not what I want to do. But it's like I'm called to go and sit with it. 4.5, 5 years from now, you'll understand why the sock was important. You'll look back and be like, whoa. Had no clue that was going to turn into that. Oh, okay. That sock could be like a dirty person in your life. It could be, picking up somebody else's dirty sock could be a dirty person. It could be dirty as in like they're not hard. How do I say that? I'll just leave it at that. You can interpret how you want to. It could be that you say that it's somebody else's dirty sock and you decide you're going to throw it out or you decide you're going to clean it. I don't know, whatever you decide to do with it, but you take care of it. Takes care of a situation in the future. You're setting up the order right now. That's what this is. When I say practice, you're setting up the order. So the stuff that you don't want to deal with is especially important to deal with, because if you deal with it now, however it comes to bind you in the future, because magic normally doesn't just happen one time. It usually is repetitive unless we decide that we need to clear it out and clean it up. So, and sometimes we don't get to control those long-term pattern weavings. That's sometimes not our position of authority, and that's just what it is. That's more God work is what that is why I say that. So when it comes to the thing, okay, so like the dirty sock, you're setting up the order. It could also be like maybe you're out on a walk and there's like a broken sidewalk, and for whatever reason, Spirit is like, hey, can you, figure out how to pour concrete into that? I don't know what, I have no idea. Maybe you're called to do that. Maybe Spirit's like, hey, could you go do that for me? Could you make sure that that's true? And then in the future, there's like actually it's like a foundational cementing in your world where you're like, had I not done that, there'd be a huge hole in my life right now. well, I can't even believe the reverent clarity of expansion through that 4.5, 5 year mark. Like, it's supposed to be dark in the middle of the opposition because you're not supposed to know what's going to grow yet, and how you handle those situations is going to be what is handled in the future. That's really interesting. Because now also I just got out of my opposition, so I'm sitting here thinking about Spirit hasn't ever really given me that perspective on the opposition. So I'm sitting here thinking about some just not fun things I've been through in the previous year and a half. Interesting. Okay. Wonder what that will have to say for me in about 4 years. I guess I'll find out when I get there. So yeah, picking things up and picking things up and picking things up. There's also a point in my practice, I'll bring that back up too because it feels important. There's a part of my practice at the very end of my nodal opposition where I was making offerings. It was probably for the final, basically like since the eclipses. It was like right before the eclipses, the previous eclipse season. Yeah. And I was making offerings and offerings and offerings and offerings and offerings and offerings. And every time I go is more and 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 more until I was like, okay, this is the final batch. This is the final. I'm done after this. This is whatever I have consecrated for the future, I've completed it. So let me like finalize it and finish it and be done. And Spirit was telling me in the middle of it, because that one was not so fun, but kind of fun, but not so fun. Oddly, that's when my offerings picked up as well. Interesting. Curious. Interesting. Yes. So that chapter being, or like the consecration, how do I say this? Let me bring it back. Spirit was telling me when I was doing that and I was making those offerings, Spirit was like, one day you're going to cry realizing why you're making all these offerings. You're gonna have there's a good reason to cry. You're making these offerings for a reason and a purpose. So you making these offerings now, Spirit talking to me. You making these offerings now, we're gonna give you a reason to cry about it in love in the future. Like it's gonna be like so overwhelming that all you are able to do is sit and cry and like be like, wow, I can't believe I did this for myself. So there's also that too. So like you're consecrating the order of what you're going to go through for a while, what you're going to go through for like many years until you have the full entire cycle come to a close in your return. So that's 9 years from now. That's a long time from now. That's 9 years from now. So it's a different sort of practice than what you're used to, because there are going to be things that come through and you're like, this is not my problem, but Spirit put it in front of you so that you could like offer what you need to get a situation handled in the future. Just remember that, because sometimes in the Spirit, it is what it is. Sometimes in the Spirit, sometimes in the Spirit, what was I even going to say? I definitely had to deal with something internally, and then I let it float away. Let me bring it back then. Let me bring it back. Get back on track with it. Let me just leave it rest then, because it's not coming back. Do you have any questions? Because I know I was talking about the other path, but I feel like I was about to give an expansion of something I had already said. You've been here. You know I talk in circles sometimes. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, do you have any questions? That is quite interesting. What a strange reading. I liked it. It was unexpected. I also feel how do I say this? On an internal level. Oh, thanks. On an internal thanks. On an internal level, there's feelings of mystery. Mysterious. with what just popped up. It's interesting that it would pop up right now. I myself am grounding in some of the order today that I wove during my opposition. So that's why I like the mysterious how do I say? I'm sitting in internal mysteries that are far beyond words that it would take me hours to explain. Probably. Maybe not hours, but yeah. So if you have questions, let me know. Oh, there we go. Okay. Definitely give the clarity I needed. I've been active in the Coven. Oh, so good. It's totally different than what I'm used to, but I love it. I think the only other question was, did anything else come through with motherhood? Let's look at it. Motherhood. I keep hearing motherhood, mother good. Motherhood, mother good. Motherhood, mother good. Those are not for you. Hold on. We don't need this deck right now. Not for this. Love you. And motherhood. What do you want to know about motherhood? That's just like a rhetorical question for right now. That's like that's the answer. That's what I hear. What do you want to know about motherhood? You could talk to the moms. What do you want to know about motherhood? Mother magic is a crazy kind of magic. Mother magic is the crazy kind of magic. What do you want to know about motherhood? Because the mothers came up, mothers are grounding. What do you want to know about motherhood? What do you want to know? What do you want to know about motherhood? Because that'll start your path. What do you want to know? What do you want to know? What do you want to know? I keep hearing it. What do you want to know? 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 Tell the mothers what you want to know, and they'll help you. What do you want to know? You want to know how to be a more caring, kind mother? Do you want to know how to help raise your kids up in a certain way? Do you want to know? I don't know what you want to know. What do you want to know? What do you want to know? Has correlation to the non-joyous things. I think it will be coming through the season. Understood. Yeah, motherhood, mother good. Mother good. That good is subjective. Good is subjective. Good is subjective. And if you're active in the okay, Sphera, let's talk about it. So how do I want to talk about this? Especially if you've been active in the Coven space, if you were doing that work with us. Were you in the chat room when I'm like trying to figure out how much to, because it's on a like, another channel for a reason, but also at the same time we're here and sitting and talking about it. So do you remember the message I sent in the Coven support, like that specific channel, when I was talking about what did I say exactly? How it's a goddess war. Do you remember that? Do you remember that? That's why I need the clarity. Yeah. Understood. Yeah. Do you remember when I was talking about that? That it's a goddess war. And that's why we're honoring the goddess at the end, at the end of the cycle. We're honoring the goddess at the end of the cycle of the previous moon cycle. We're honoring the goddess. We're honoring the goddesses that are specific to us in our practice. We're honoring the goddess. Okay, beautiful. So the goddess war, look at what's happening in the world right now. Look at how many womb bodies, women, mothers are turned in opposition to each other. Please allow me to speak this in love, truth, free, honor, glory, elevation, gratitude, reverence, justice, and love. You do what you need to do to make sure that the goddess of you is true. You do what you need to do to make sure that the goddess of you is true. Yes. 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 We're walking through a time period right now where the mothers are at each other, where sisters are at each other, where there's not every child is being smiled down upon. So when it comes to you, and it comes to your path, and it comes to your motherhood, and it comes mother good, Mother good, motherhood. When it comes to the work that you're doing with your practice and the things that you're doing with your world and your either, I don't know if you have a child or children, but like with your, motherhood, when it comes to that space for you, make sure that you are being true for yourself. It doesn't matter about anybody else. Make sure you're being true for you. Because the mothers around you are also watching you. They're also watching you and making sure that you're covered in the way that you are in reciprocity with your family and in reciprocity in your motherhood. So say that you mother in love, or you love your kids, you love yourself, and you got love around you. Okay, well then mother love is also going to be around you. Thank you, Spirit. Mother love is also going to be around you. Mother love is going to be around you, making sure that you're taken care of, and that you're under the motherhood of love, because you're mothering in love. So that makes sense, right? But say that you are in. How do I say this? Let me discern how I need to share this. We talked a lot about shame in the coven space. It came up earlier in another reading too. So like, say that you are using shame in your mothering figure of things, which I don't know if you are or not. And it's not for me to know. And that's all right. Say that you're using shame, and it's also not for me to shame if you are. Understood. Say that there's shame in there, then mother shame would be around you too. And when we get into those kind of like the darker mothers, there's more of the shadow emotions mothers, or mother fear. Is there fear in the motherhood? Is there fear around you? Are you using fear in the motherhood? Is fear near you in the motherhood? So it's like motherhood, mother good. Good is subjective. So how do you need to be a mom? How do you need to be a mom? What do your kids need at the time? Because every child is different. Every mother is different. Every ancestral lineage is different, you know? And then also, what will your responsibilities and your practice require of you as a mother as well? Because everybody's going to have different responsibilities in their practice. So if you're walking in responsibility as a mother and as a practitioner, then your practice and your motherhood are going to be a little bit different. So it's like, what do the mothers in your practice need from you to make sure that the things in your motherhood are going well? And if you have mothers in your practice, bringing kind of the two of the things that we worked with together in the reading is like you and your nodal opposition right now and weaving the order of years to come. If you're making offerings to the mothers and working with the mothers and like there's motherhood things going on, more than likely those are going to be set up in the purpose of creating order of motherhood in the future. So making sure that you're paying attention to how the order of your kids is happening, how the order of not just the order of your kids, but like if stuff is happening with your kids during the nodal opposition, or say that somebody's being mean to them at school, it's like how are you going to handle that situation, because there might be something that comes up in the future that has to do similarly with that. So it's like moving through those things where it's like not everything is meant to be joyous all the time, and you got to figure out in those dark places what kind of mother are you going to be. That's a hard responsibility. That's a lot to carry. And the mothers also are going to be around you to make sure that you're going to be grounded how you need to be. You're going to be on the earth how you need to be. You're not going to be shaken or broken up. You're going to be here, and you're going to be centered, and you're going to be true, and you're going to be you. Because that's what they need you to be. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made you, So congrats. That's where the mothers are right now. So if you need stuff, talk to them. They're, speak to them, talk to them, bring offerings. They're around. They're asking you to help ground is what I hear also. Asking you to help ground, especially if you're already in motherhood, asking you to help ground. Because as a mother, we get to ground the mothers on the earth. As a mother, we get to ground the mothers on the earth. As a mother, I'm going to say it again. As a mother, we get to ground the mothers on the earth. So it's like, how are you grounding the mothers? Who of motherhood are you grounding? What's the grounding? What's it look like? How's it feel? Does it feel real? Does it feel true? Does it feel good for you? Well, then good. Because there's a lot of different mothers in the world. There's a lot of different energies of motherhood in the world. And the energy that we're in the current time and period that we're currently sitting in, working in, walking in, there's a lot of mothers that disagree with each other. There's a lot of mothers who are, again, at each other instead of in participation in union together. So, break things every once in a while if you need to, like cycles or orders. Break things how you need to. Mothers are, holding the power of life and death. And if you wanted to elevate your practice, you could start looking at this is like a optional assignment, is what I hear. You could start looking at how the mother spirits move through society and how are you moving with those trends and those waves. That will also show you a lot about motherhood and the mother spirits and how they're moving in the world. And that's what I'll leave it with. That's what I'll leave it with. Do you have any other questions before we close out? Interesting. Interesting. Thank you for allowing me the space to talk about motherhood. That was beautiful. That was so good. Motherhood, mother good. Motherhood, mother good. If you're doing good, you're doing good. Motherhood, mother good. Mm-hmm. 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 I'm also going to close the list. I don't know if anyone. Oh, yes, you are welcome. You are welcome. You are welcome. So Erica is up next. Erica is going to be the final one for the night. Let me go turn off our the options for readings. There we go. Okay. So, and then let me go back. Oh, thanks. That's so good. So good. Okay, Erica, will you send me a message? I can't remember. I saw you pop up earlier, but I can't remember what platform you're on. If you're on YouTube or if you're on TikTok. Will you send me a message and let me know that you're here? Oh, and you sent like a note here. Thank you. And thank you for your patience. Okay, so let me read what you wrote here. A lot of shifts. Mm-hmm. A floodgate of messages that poured in is great. Okay, good. That said, there's so much coming through that I'm having trouble. That does make sense. You could hesitate. Interesting. Okay. So is offering to, I'm going to ask this question just for like relevance and relativity for the reading space. Are you already making offerings to goddesses, and like do you already have them like ingrained into your practice, or is it something that you're like, is it more of like you're in an introductory phase and you want to bring goddesses into the practice? Because you're talking about wondering if any specific deities or ancestors come through for me to work with. Only on Sabbath. Okay. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Okay. So let me get your birth date into this. Only on Sabbath. Mm-hmm. And typically Celtic and Druid. Okay, understood. Understood. Mm. Mm. That's a fun birth time. That's a fun. I don't know if you've ever had another astrologer read your chart or look at your birth time, but that I like it. I like it. The LOL, yep. Okay. So then let me go back again. A lot of shifts. I need to read this one more time now that I have that in, and then I'm gonna sit. Priorities. I'm looking at the transit calendar that I have up. Allow me a moment while I do some homework for you. Let me look and see some things. Hold on. Uh, where are you? There's one transit that I'm looking for, and I don't know where it is. There it is. Okay. So you're talking about prioritizing. Let me go back. You said in your chart or in your coming through, having trouble sifting through things. It's been a struggle to prioritize where I'm being led and when. Honestly, a lot of what you're talking about, and this is going to be more on like a general level. Let me look at your Pisces. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. So a lot of what you're talking about is due to, I know it's a lot to sit with, so I appreciate you taking the time. Yeah, no worries. A lot of what you're talking about when it comes to like having struggle, the thing I was looking up, the priorities and shifting that, I was looking up when your Mars return is going to happen, and it's going to be, was it mid June? Mid June? Yes, June 17th is when Mars enters Virgo, and your Mars is at 29 degrees in Leo. So it'll be June 17th that your Mars return is like starting, really, or like right before that. So you have until then to really like, how do I say this? You're closing out a cycle of prioritization until then. And having that cycle of prioritization being brought to a close or being brought to more finalities, you'll probably start sifting out priorities. Uh, so just kind of a heads up. That's what I wanted to look up of that too, because then you were talking about. Let me sit back. Actually, I feel like I need to just sit here for a second. Let me just sit and channel instead of trying to direct it so much. Hold on. You just sit and channel. Priorities also have to do with direction. Sounds like it's time for you to pick another direction in your practice. Thank you for that. I did need to sit back. That okay, yeah, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like you need to pick a direction in your practice. That's kind of crazy. Pick a direction. Pisces, when it comes to the North Node being a Pisces, that makes sense why so many things are cropping up. Yeah. Pisces is the oldest and wisest trickster. So if you don't have a priority in your practice, if you don't kind of keep, that's where the North Node is. So like the North Node's there to help elevate us and bring us into new perspectives and bring us new skills and help us to have more purpose within that space and to have more spiritual practice within that space. And Pisces is our spiritual practices is one of the things that it represents. It's not totality, but that's like a part of it. So with the North Node being there, it hearing you talk about in your note about how things the word overwhelm kind of comes in where it's like there's a lot of overwhelm with messages and just like sifting through them and like trying to understand kind of like why everything is happening and where is it taking you and what does that even mean, and there's like so many like questions that could come up or like why they're coming up too. And it sounds like there needs to be some kind of like, yeah, yes, exactly. It sounds like there needs to be some kind of direction. So, like, whether it is that you choose a direction or you're just deciding that you're going to kind of follow the spirits and see where they take you, because you can do that. Is there a certain kind of magic you want to be learning about? And also, too, having like the deities and the ancestral work starting to come up and like you're interested in that, is like that a practice, because we can't practice everything. That's Saturn's in Pisces right now too. It's like we only have so much time and we can only dedicate ourselves so much to what we do. We're still humans, we still have to take care of ourselves. We can't always sit in the spirit, we can't always like, we have to live a life. So being able to pick kind of like what is it that you want to focus on, and making sure that that magic and that practice is also going to be helping you within your physical world too. So like if you're like wanting to have a new job, or you're wanting to work on something within your relationships, or you're wanting to maybe like start a community group or start a nonprofit, I don't know, whatever, maybe you want to work on healing or self-development, or you want to understand more about your hobbies and your gifts, or whatever it might be that you would be doing on like a human level, then having there be some kind of practice that you're deciding to partake in or participate in that is going to be helpful for, thank you, higher spirit. I revere it. That's going to be, you know what? Hold on. I think I took all of my sticky notes to another place. Oh my gosh. Did I really do that? I really did do that. I know I'm in the middle of your reading. I need to get a sticky note. I need to write something down really quick, really swiftly. Allow me a moment, please and thank you. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Understood. Okay. Yeah, and then I'll put this away. Thank you for your patience with that one. Oh my goodness. Every once in a while, spirit hits me with, allows me to receive. I don't want to get hit with it. Spirit allows me to receive like some kind of clarity that I've been waiting on in the middle of a session or a reading. So thanks for that. That's it. Almost like having a group of kids vying for the attention. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. pretty much. Oldest and wisest tricksters, but also like still tricksters. Still tricksters, the Pisces. Oldest and wisest, still tricksters though. So it sounds like it's time to decide a direction. Because it's also too like if you have mother spirits, like mother gods that are coming in. And then it's also like, that there's dark magic that has to do with some of them. And you're like, not sure if that's for you. And what, like, it sounds like there's direction. It sounds like it's directionary. It sounds like, so is there any directions you want me to look at? Because it feels like if I'm going to sit and do a reading, it needs to be kind of a discovery of maybe what different directions. Let me pull some cards. Hold on. Or like a card reading, because that was still technically a reading, but you're being disunioned with some fates. Okay, wow, that was a lot. That's a big wind. That's big wind around you. That's big wind around you. That's really big wind around you. Oh my God. Well, hold on. Oh my God. Oh yeah. Huh. There's some really big changes that are about to happen in your life. This is okay. There's some really big changes that are about to happen in your life. Funny you say that spirit speaks through the wind. Interesting. Yeah, there's some big winds around you. There's some big winds around you that are I see you at some point, like, I see the wind picking up so much that you're like, "Oh god, this is like kind of like trying to like bar yourself from it a little bit." It's like, "Stop, stop, 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 stop. That's too much. It's too windy. It's too windy. It's too much. It's too windy. It's too much. It's too much." That's what I see is like it's like big wins and big wins, big wins, big wins, big wins, and then it just like keeps coming and it gets like harder and faster as the wind comes through. And I just see you being like, it's too stop, please, it's too much, but it's the wind. It's not going to stop until it's done. You're going to come out. This is a ride that you're in. This is a ride that you did not decide on either. That's what I'm hearing. This is a ride you did not decide. You did not decide. Oh, you did not decide. So that's your ride. This is a ride of figuring out how to decide and what to decide and when to decide and why to decide. That's the ride you're in right now. That's the ride you're in, picking a direction, where are you going to go? How are you going to get there? What's it going to be like? There's something that you didn't decide on. I don't know what it is. It was like a turning moment in your fates, though. There's a turning moment in your fates where you said, okay, then I'm not going to make a decision. You didn't do anything. You could have done something and you didn't do anything. I don't know what it is. I can't see it. It was like a passing moment. It was a moment of passing. It was a moment that's important, and it was just a moment. Sometimes fates, I knew they were going to call me out. Understood. Understood. It was just a moment, It was a moment that you made a final decision, though, and you decided to do nothing. I understand that perspective. I understand that perspective. Oh, do I? Oh, do I? Oh, do I? Oh, oh, do I understand that? I sure do. So now the ride is you did not decide, which means that all these other spirits are trying to decide for you because they've seen that you're not going to decide. So they want your decision, they want your provision, they want your fate, they want what you're offering. Decision, your will. You decided to still the will. You decided to still it and rest it in a moment. So now all these spirits around you want your will. That's a hard, at least it was for me, chapter. The ride of learning how and when and why and what and where to decide. That is a ride to be fortified. That's the ride you're on. It's a ride that looks like did not decide. This is a ride of fortification. And if you, I let the fear stop the decision. I understand that, Erica. I've been in a similar, I don't know exactly what you were in or what you were doing, but I understand. I understand. And I want to make that very, very clear before I continue to continue to, bring through what is necessary. I understand. I understand. I've been in a position of similar fate. So do what you need to do to consecrate. Because if this is a ride of fortification, the fortification of the will, how are your ancestors wrapped up in the will? What did you inherit from the ancestors wrapped up in the will? Because you're talking about ancestors coming up and like in your note. Were they involved in systems of the will and institutions where the will is involved? I don't know how long you've been in America or who you are or where you come from in that sense. And like how long your lineage has been here. But there's a lot of different systems and institutions in this nation that are based on the, please allow me the words to say this in love, truth, and free. Based in worlds where will was not free. Entire systems and institutions. Our nation is founded where will is not free. The entire nation. The entire nation. So if you're going to go through and fortify your will, how are you connected to the systems and institutions? How are your ancestors connected to the systems and institutions? Maybe you don't know fully. Maybe you don't know fully. And if you are going to offer to your ancestors, then they're going to let you know. Ancestors contradict maternal versus paternal. Understood. Understood. The way that I offer to my ancestors is I speak very specifically to, and when I give offerings, is to my ancestors of love, truth, free, honor, glory, elevation, gratitude, reverence, justice, and love. Those are the energies I work in, that I sit in, that I understand, that I revere, that I want to be near here. And I also have ancestral spirits that I know I do not want here. And we've already worked out boundaries through, again, a similar fate of the fortification of the will. So you're going through a fortification process, because then if you're doing any offerings to the gods and you're bringing in any offerings to the gods, then that's also going to be directly affecting the ancestral practice that you have and the boundaries that you keep. So this is like, some ancestors need to be put to sleep, go rest. You don't need to be up. Some ancestors need to be fed and kept alive so that you can have a continuation of their liberations, so that you can have a continuation of their truth and their love and their free and however else you would need it to be. There are some ancestors that are going to need to be brought up that then will need to be brought back to sleep. So it's like, okay, they've been resting, but there's still like a hole within the lineage where like enemy force or an opposing force to who you are and what you do can now come through. So it's like going back and finding those spaces so that you could patch up the hole or heal what's going on, understand the perspective, and just like sometimes listen to them. This is also a process. I've definitely been led in anything to specify the highest vibration because others are trying. Okay. There's when how do I say this? Sometimes I'll say this in my experience, this process of fortification, fortifying your will. There are some ancestors that I didn't ever want to talk to, never wanted to meet, didn't want to bring them up, didn't want to ever get them up from sleep, but it didn't matter what I wanted because they were already awake and their cycles were already alive. So I had to face them, look them straight in the eye, listen to their stories, even if I disagreed with them, hear what they had to say, even if I knew that I was not going to walk the way that they walked in their lifetime, hear them, revere them, understand them, and say, okay, well, listen, I'm not doing that. And if you have a problem with it, then you're not allowed to be here. So, part of that process, at least it feels like for you in this reflection, is going to be necessary. We don't get to choose who we come from, but we do get to choose how we interact with them and what we're willing to pick up. So, sometimes things don't need to be picked up. Sometimes things need to be picked up intentionally so that we can break whatever the tool or cycle was, put it down. Sometimes we need to pick it up so that we can grow it. It just depends. It depends on what you want to work with and how you want to work with it. And then again, well, are there any questions that you have? Because I could ramble about this for like an hour and a half. It all makes sense with what's come through. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, if you have any questions, please ask them. Because this is a ride that took me years to understand and to get through, not just to understand, but to like break through. Weaving that fate was not a mistake, also. Weaving that fate said, this is the order that I'm already in. This is the order I'm already in. Okay, this isn't the order I want to be in anymore. So, what do I need to do to get out of it? What do I need to do to get out of it? That's the process now. A lot of the times, and I'll say this too, a lot of the times when I work my magic, it's a natural, neutral thing. So if I, in this specific example, stilled the will because I was afraid and I didn't make a decision, and now I've woven a fate where I was back then, I wove a fate that said, okay, well, because you did that, now you're going to have to ride this ride of fortifying the will because you decided not to decide, and that was your decision. So, because I decided not to decide, and that was my decision, I had to take the longer ride. However, the longer ride arrived me fortified. I arrived fortified rather than being in the shorter ride where things could still get inside. So, what I thought was a mistake years ago is like, why the heck did I do that? Why the heck would I sign up for that? Why did I put myself on that path? Crazy person that I am. Why did I do that? Now being on the other side, I understand because I look back at that. I'm going to call her a girl. She was a young woman. I'm still, a little bit in my youth. It is. It is. And a girl who just didn't know any better. Okay. A young woman who just didn't know any better made that decision, made it multiple times. Our fates don't get consecrated unless there's been multiple of the decisions. So I did it multiple times, multiples of those decisions not to decide. Okay, well then we're changing your ride. That's what the spirits looked at me and said. Okay, we're changing your ride then because you can't be practicing. This is how, in perspective, right now they're talking to me. You can't be practicing the kind of magic that you're practicing and not have a fortified will. So we have to get you through this process so that you can have your will be fortified, and you're not having other people ride where they should not be. So it requires going into the ancestry. The other thing I was going to say about it too is that if you're working with the ancestors and you're understanding them, and again, it's like some things need to be put to sleep. Some things are awake and they need to be put to sleep. Some things are just sitting there and they need to be brought up so that they can be broken. Some things need to be grown. It just depends. It just depends. If you're working with the gods, making offerings to the gods, those are going to be the tools that help you to work through whatever's happening in those ancestral spaces. So if you have relationships with gods in your practice and you have relationships because you said you are there's only like certain times of the year that you're making those offerings, it again, it's your decision. It's your decision. And I'll also say that had I not had relationships with the spirits of God orientation in my practice while I was going through this process, probably not only would it have taken me longer, I don't know, I would probably still be in the ride, to be honest with you. Probably. They were very helpful. They were very, very helpful. There was a lot of things I learned because I was in those relationships with God spirits. Yeah. So it's like the wisdoms that are gonna help you get through that don't come from the ancestral spaces. Again, it's your decision. From my experience, where I was with my practice, those relationships with gods were very helpful. So, if you do want to something to think about. If you do want to make offerings to those spirits and the God spirits and like create a relationship with them more than just what you're doing now to be of assistance and help through this process of fortifying your will, one of the things to think about is the will of those spirits. So one of the things to think about is the will of those spirits. I'll leave it at that. One of the things, yeah, I'll leave it at that is the will of those spirits, the will of the gods, the will of the spirits that you're making offerings to, the will of the food that you eat. Does it have a will? Do you feel like it has a will? How has it been willed? You know? So learning about the will. You're fortifying the will, learning about the will then. Yeah. Do you have is there anything else that you might need? Is there anything else you might need? It's always funny to me when somebody comes to me to get a reading because they need to be called out on something. Oh my goodness. I guess happily I'll sit and like receive the messages that need to be. Oh goodness. Oh goodness. Oh goodness. But yeah, if you have questions, let me know. If you have questions, if not, we'll let it go. But if you have questions, let me know. A will to be fortified. That's the ride. A will to be fortified. Oh my goodness. I've been called out in a reading before. Sometimes it's necessary. Listen, I would rather get called out than hit over the head later on. You know what I mean? I would rather get called out now and be able to correct myself and reorient myself and protect myself. I would rather be able to do that than to get something thrown at me in the future. I would rather be able to do that and be protected now and be able to direct myself now than get on the head where I would need the lesson, you know? Let me learn softly, let me learn gently, let me learn in patience so that I'm not smacked across the face. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for that. Oh my goodness, nothing else. Thanks. Yes, you are welcome. I have a relationship with the guides and the spirits. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. And remember too, interesting. Hmm. I was gonna say, remember too, your ancestors. They're there to help you, even the ones that you would like disagree with. And I know that that sounds like, how do I say, contradictory or like sort of, I guess, you know. And also, if there's ancestors you disagree with in any fashion or form, even they're there to help you, even if it's in a disagreement. Sometimes we don't get to choose how the lesson shows up. Sometimes we just ask for the help, and the help that we get is not what we expected. So just remember that as you're going through the ancestral sort of work as well. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Okay. Calling my answers, my guys, but specify them. Beautiful. Understood. 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 Do I need to say that? No, I'll let it be. You got it. You got it. And you're gonna do great. You got it. And you're gonna do great. That was a long ride for me. So yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I could ramble about that for literally hours. But I gotta, cut myself off at some point. Someone asked if the list was still open. My list is closed for today. I'm a little bit sleepy. How long have I been on actually? Well, like 4 hours, something like that. Like 3.5 hours. Beautiful. Okay. So then I think that's gonna be it for the night. That's the final reading. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Cool. Huh. I feel like after that, that's just how it's been going recently with my online streams and my online readings. I like read and go through. Oh, thanks. Yeah, you have a good night too. I'll read and go through, and then afterwards, there's like work that I need to sit in and work that I need to understand, work that I need to do. So I'm gonna go figure out exactly what that is. I don't know yet. This this how do I say? This eclipse season has been, even though we're like just at the beginning, has been unexpected. Unexpected. It's like things keep popping up and it's small little things. Unexpected. So I have a feeling probably tonight is going to be a little bit unexpected too, and that is what it is. Yeah. Am I doing live readings again soon? I've been going on more recently. Yes. If you want to get updates, there's a way to turn on notifications. I think on both YouTube and TikTok because I stream on both of them. I also have the community organization and Coven support space on either of the websites, on both astrology and magick.com and then vorder.art. It's in both of the menus, and there's a live stream announcements or updates. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's a live stream like where I announce that I'm going live. And so if you wanted to get those updates as well, it's kind of like Discord. The space is kind of like Discord. It's a different host and different server, but it's kind of like Discord. So if you're interested in that, yeah. So good. Oh, thanks. Oh, so good. I will log off. I will see everyone soon. And yes, I will be, doing what I need to. So hopefully it's good for you too. Bye. Oh.